This is my cheddar jalapeno popper dip. All right, melt some butter, Katie.
All right.
Nice and gently. And then you're gonna toast that panko.
Okay.
Just till it's golden brown. Very, very small mince on these chives. Once that's toasted, you can add those in. But do the breadcrumbs first and then add that in. Off the heat, please. Next, I'm gonna take my jalapenos, which I have a sheet pan right here. We're gonna split it down the middle to help extract all the flavor of that wonderfully grassy and spicy jalapeno, but take out the heat so we're not blowing the palate. We're gonna do the little, obviously the spoon method here. And just scoop it right out where all that heat is. We know this. We've taught you this. Do this. That way you can use more jalapenos, which equals more flavor. But again, it's not too spicy. Little oil on here. A little bit of salt. All right, this is going under the broiler for about 9 to 10 minutes till it's well charred.
Oh, yeah, man.
Right? Because that's just all flavor.
Flavor.
Once it starts getting crackly and charred and everything, all those beautiful bits. But
just like that is good.
It's all flavor, it's color. We want this to look fabulous. This is going right into our food processor.
Okay.
Oh, flavor.
My goodness.
Bro.
So far, so good. I can
So
do
far,
all of
so
this,
good.
Jeff. Yep.
Sometimes you get a jalapeno popper, it's stuffed with cream cheese. Sometimes it's stuffed with cheddar cheese. Why not use both? Since this is a dip, we got some room temp blocks of cream cheese for that creaminess.
The beginning of any good dip.
And then the cheddar, which I'm gonna add in a second. Then some sour cream to give it some body, some lightness, right? Cling to that chip in a little bit.
I like the tart. It kind of marries with the tart of the cream cheese.
Yep. Some granulated garlic, which I love. Super simple. And I have some of that cheddar, good sharp cheddar. Really taste it. You know what I mean?
Yourself, right?
Grated ourselves from the block and some pickled jalapenos.
Grated from the block.
Give it a little salt.
Yeah.
A couple pinches of that. Season everything. Now we're gonna kind of puree this because I want to see these things kind of chunked up in there.
Yeah.
Let me know I'm eating some dip.
Pimento cheese vibes.
Right?
Oh, I love a pimento cheese sandwich.
Super simple.
This would be great on a sandwich. Hello.
Oh,
To
hello.
have a little smear of this and like some thinly sliced roast beef.
And then add that super sharp, fresh from the block grated cheddar and pickled jalapenos. And it's an art form using a food processor. A lot of people sometimes just dump everything in there and puree it. Like if you do stagger it, do it in layers, you can really use this to its proper maximum benefit here by seeing those little chunkies in there. Pulse it just a little bit.
You can also chop it up and fold it in if you want to, right?
That's true.
What I love about this is like, it can be tedious making a million little jalapeno poppers, but the dip, you just make that filling and spread it in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Needs pepper, Jeff.
Woo!
I can't wait to eat this. I love a dip.
Right now, we got to get to the chip.
Yeah.
You can use a pita chip.
Yeah.
You can use a corn tortilla chip. There's something about flour tortilla
Kind of the
chips.
best.
Homemade.
Interesting.
Fried in 350-degree oil.
So you
They
think
separate.
this is a flour tortilla moment?
Oh, yeah. I think it is more of a white bread moment.
A white corn tortilla moment in my mind.
Really? Now
How
tell
long do
me.
you fry those? And
Until they're golden brown, Geoffrey, at 350 degrees. I mean, keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
Don't overcrowd the pan. Let them set, and then start moving them, flipping them. We'll let that go for a minute. Katie, how's that going?
Breadcrumbs. They're beautiful. Look at that.
Oh, those are very
look at that.
nice. Let's season that up a little bit.
I already did.
Okay, and then add those chives in there, and we will be on our way to Jalapeno Town. And what you want to look for with this is just color, Geoffrey.
Sometimes the jalapeno popper dip, they're baking
do
it.
this
There's like
over
this
here.
whole nother step. This is so easy,
Oh,
Jeff.
dude, come on. I'm not sitting here. Let's a dip.
Let's feed a crowd.
No, this is snack time. You don't have time
I'm with
during
it.
snack
You
time.
could bake this though, right?
You can definitely bake this and do that, but
Look at that.
Well, why would you bake it?
it gets all separated then,
yeah.
and things
It
come.
does at the wrong temp. You're right. I think those bakes should be below 300, if anything.
Yeah, sometimes all these creamy hot things in there. Geoffrey, you're gonna love those.
Do you fry in olive oil? What is your
Oh,
preferred
this
oil?
is just nice. We do a little peanut oil. All right, we got that going.
Look at this.
Oh.
It's just basically one big popper.
That's
You know
what
what
I'm
I
going
mean?
after with the
Yeah.
texture, with the jalapeno. All right, let's eat. Oh, I got some more
right.
chippers here in the
That's really
oven.
pretty.
But I'm gonna let
Can
you
I
eat.
take
Pretty.
veggie, or what do you want me to do first there?
Okay, so you have the chips, obviously, Jeff. That's what I
Obviously.
just.
Vegetables
Then we
here.
have a wonderful little crudité assortment.
Look at that. Is that for me?
That is for Sarah or you, right?
got
It's
to
like
be.
Make a little thing, so you want.
If there's a crudité at the party, I'm next to it. I love veggies and dip.
I mean, I will tear up some radishes, though.
Do you want, I'll give you some one carrot, Geoffrey, and a
give me
radish.
yeah.
And I'm gonna give you 2 of these
Thank you.
chips. I got some more. Katie, there are some more in there if you want to grab. And then I'm gonna...
I like this proper dip etiquette. Do not dip into the actual dip.
Never.
Yeah.
No, this
Can I
is...
have a fork and knife?
No,
I'm kidding.
that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
We got some more chips here if anybody wants.
Look
You're gonna
at
love
this
this.
beautiful snack time spread. We are so fancy around here at the kitchen.
Look at that. I'm gonna give you,
love
because I know,
Scoot that right
You
on
know
there.
my heart.
I know your heart. I'm gonna like dip
The
right
heart
into
wants
it.
what the heart wants.
Okay, I don't know
Lighten
what
it
to
up.
expect.
I love
I don't
this
know what to
dip.
expect.
Oh, you're gonna love this, Geoffrey.
It's good.
Fiery.
It's
Simple.
good, Jeff.
Right?
really
I mean,
like
it's
it.
not like,
Well, good, Jeff.
It has a consistency of like an onion dip or clam dip, but the roasted jalapeno is really magnificent.
Buffalo chicken meatballs. So I've got ground chicken, which is sold in the supermarket. And I'm just gonna add a bunch of things to it. So 1 egg, breadcrumbs. You can do seasoned, but these are plain. I added salt and pepper. And then I've got really little bits of celery, which of course is always served with buffalo chicken. Garlic, of course. And then the white parts of green onions, sliced really thin, Louisiana hot sauce. So look, this did not take long at all to kind of mix together. It's a little bit more tender than ground beef, so it all really stirs together easily. Okay, really good. So I'm gonna use my trusty scoop and I'm gonna get about 28 to 30 meatballs out of it. I'll roll them up and put them on the sheet pan. So these are gonna bake at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes until they're totally done. All right, I'm gonna make a sauce. So that is nothing more than butter and more Louisiana hot sauce. So I've got the skillet on medium high, and I'm just gonna cook this until the butter is melted, the sauce is bubbling, and everything just looks orange and wonderful. Okay, so this would be a wonderful time to go grab the meatballs out of the oven. Now I'm just gonna scrape them off of the sheet pan and get them into the sauce. Make sure the sauce is still bubbling. Alrighty, now I'm gonna turn the heat off of the sauce and then look, just stir them around and get them totally coated. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Delicious, they look amazing. So to serve these, I'm just gonna pile them in the middle of a platter. I love things like this, just saucy and messy and wonderful. Okay, so celery sticks, and then gorgonzola cheese, and then some celery leaves, and a little thing of toothpicks. And then I cannot let this sauce go to waste. I have to pour some more on.
Actually, a beautiful platter.
It is fun. Just serve this to friends, serve it to your kids, serve it to yourself.
Football-shaped whoopie pies.
So what are you making? I see that we have little designs. Did you draw, are these your footballs?
Yes, here.
Okay, these are not footballs. That scares me. That's really, is that what you think of the great American sport? Is that? All right, let's like someone sat on a soccer ball. Okay, so what are you making?
Tailgating is all about football, right? And whoopie pies shaped as footballs, that is the perfect dish for any tailgating party. So the first thing that I do is I cream some brown sugar and butter and add eggs one by one. Then I go ahead and sift some cocoa powder, some flour, a generous portion of cayenne pepper.
Holy cayenne, Batman.
You need a little bit of a kick.
Did you see this?
I saw it, it was gnarly.
Garam masala, which is an Indian blend of spices. Put some baking powder, baking soda in it, salt. So I go ahead and slowly take all the dried ingredients and put it in with the butter, egg, and sugar mixture. Let everything come together. Then I take that mixture, put it in piping bags, and I have traced out mini footballs on parchment paper, and then I go ahead and pipe those footballs and fill it up. I pop the cookies into the oven for around 10 to 15 minutes at 325 degrees Fahrenheit.
Maneet, the wonderful Maneet Chauhan, has made football things, football pies. What are they called again?
Whoopie pies!
Whoopie pies.
To make the filling, I go ahead and take some cream cheese and some vanilla paste, some confectioner's sugar and some butter, and just a touch of garam masala, and just whisk everything together till it's light and fluffy. After I take the cookies out, I let the cookies cool. Then I make a glaze with a confectioner's sugar and cocoa powder and put that over half of the cookies. Once the glaze is set, it's time to make the footballs. I make the football laces with the filling mixture. I go ahead and put the garam masala cream cheese whipped filling in the center of the cookies and then put the top right on top and make the perfect sandwiches.
I'm making my grilled fish tacos with papaya slaw.
Ooh,
Very nice fresco.
I do this all the time for my kids. They love tacos, and this is a great way to get people to eat fish. Let's start with the basics. The fish, very fresh. Always get the freshest, the freshest, the freshest.
Yeah.
And I want to make them the same. When we fish cookery, you want everything the same. So I try to get the smallest, these are snapper, the smallest ones I can. Okay. Just because it's easier to cook and it's very quick cook. I want to hold that up. That is a slightly underripe papaya. And we have this really fancy device that makes nice little juliennes on it, so.
How much julienne would you like?
I would like,
About a
cup or so. I got some cabbage, I got some daikon, and I have a little salt and pepper, right? And once you get that in there, we're gonna toss it. And then I'm gonna get this on the fire. So a very simple spice mixture, easy. Chili powder, coriander. One of my favorite spices ever, cumin. Paprika for you.
Yes.
Garlic powder for you.
I'll take it.
Salt, because you have to have salt.
Billy Bowles.
Chef?
Yes.
More? That looks about half a cup.
I think that's good.
Yeah?
Thank you.
I would do a little more.
I would
That's good.
too.
Cheesy, can I ask if
Yes.
you didn't have access to a papaya, what would you suggest?
Mango. But it's a texture thing, because that really doesn't taste like a lot. It's really the dressing. You can pop that in. Okay, so would you put some of these Thai bird chilies in there?
Yeah, no problem.
And a vinaigrette that has like 40 few ingredients. I had to write it down. Jalapeno, garlic, lime juice, fish sauce, brown sugar, water, lime zest, and salt.
Well, hey,
That's a lot.
It's a lot to memorize.
And you can put that in there and just
Yes.
toss it for me gently, and then we're ready to go. Let it sit, right? Put it in the fridge if you want. Now, I'm really being liberal with these spices because it's all about the flavor of getting that real spice into the fish and having that nice char. And you just flake it with your fork, and it's very easy to serve.
I like the little touch that you're not touching the fish, but you're flipping it over with a fork so you don't get the fishy hands.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm gonna get a little cannoli.
A little ganole.
Little ganole on a hot, you can do a griddle or the other side, the grill. I like a griddle, just me. I like to get a real nice sear, and it's hard to do on the grill side. And then we're gonna make a little other sauce, and I wanna caution you can make this as hot as you want. It's a little Mexican crema, a little, our
Chipotle?
favorite. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Be careful, this is like, this is enough for a lifetime of tacos,
Truly
almost,
is.
right? So just a little touch there, and a little bit of hot sauce as well.
Oh, wow.
We have our fish. Look how beautiful, how easy. What
I
was
can't
that?
wait for you to flip it, Jeffers.
I mean, that's like very easy. A nice char, right? Look at that. You want that char.
Beautiful.
And then what I'm gonna do at this point is shut it off. Shut it down.
Shut it down, Jeezy.
Plenty of heat here, carry over galore, as I like to say. Okay, you're gonna help me plate that. How was the taste of that?
Delicious.
Okay.
A little nice spicy
We have a
kick.
crema, and then at this point, it's just like, let's warm the tacos up a bit. And like, I have them already done here. I've griddled them. And I'm just gonna throw them over here just to get a little extra heat,
Ooh, a little
right?
shot.
A little shot.
I like that you're using those little street taco size tortillas.
For me, I mean, it's tacos. A lot of people think they're sandwiches. They put too much stuff in them. They're little bites, right? It's so important to like get the texture right, but also get the amount right.
Question: Are those are flour tortillas, correct? Not
Flour
corn?
tortillas.
I like flour with fish tacos.
So do I.
I do too, and blue corn with meat. Just a little.
Yeah.
That's for me. So I'm just gonna take a look at this. If you can see, it's done.
That's
It's
it.
done. That's it.
Amazing. RTC.
And it's beautiful.
And it's beautiful. And so, believe it or not, there's actually carryover cooking on the fish. So you gotta be very careful. And I'm gonna hit it with just a touch of this, which is lime. Okay? And then
Great.
it's just building, right? What I like to do is put the avocado on the bottom.
Yes.
Wow.
And I've already salted this and put lime on it.
Okay.
Word. And I'm gonna take a little piece of this. Look at that feathery bit. Just that's
Don't be
enough.
cheap.
Perfect.
Don't
Not
be
too
cheap,
much.
Geoffrey.
No, not too much.
I
It's
know
a
the
taco.
portions are small in Florida,
And then we're
but
gonna put, no, they're not. Little onion and some of this slaw. Okay?
more slaw, please.
Florida man.
Okay. Well, it's not gonna get in your mouth.
Yeah, I know, but I want more.
Okay.
It's not enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And I have a little crema. Would you like some crema?
Ooh la la. Yeah, I want it all. I want the works.
This is
At
this
the
is
Zakarian
very-
taco bar, I want the works.
Okay.
This is a beautiful taco.
come
It's
on
a
the
beautiful
first bite there.
tailgating meal.
Go.
Very interesting. You just put the taco directly in the plastic
I
basket.
feel this is kind of
I
sacred.
feel
Where
very.
is the parchment?
I'm like seizing up my whole existence.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's a lifetime of putting sandwiches into
No, why waste
baskets
paper?
with paper.
I almost don't want to eat it,
Less
but
trash.
now I'm ignoring that thought. Look at that.
Oh, look
at
at
that.
that.
Wow.
What
Stop
a bite.
Look
What
at
a
that overhang.
bite.
You better take down half that taco.
That's a crema cascade.
I'm like organizing.
There it is.
Jeff.
This is sublime.
Chopped Italian sliders. All right, so I've got some of my favorite deli meats. I got some prosciutto, some salami, some smoked turkey, pepperoni, and of course, provolone cheese. All right, so I'm gonna give the meats a rough chop first, and I've kind of already diced some of my veggies on top, just to make it a little easier for myself. So I have some banana peppers here. Banana peppers are way more tangier than hot. You're just getting a lot of that acid and vinegar. Some red onion, some tomato. And what I like to do is actually add my lettuce in once I mix it up because I don't want my lettuce to get super, super wilted. All right, and chop. Because these are going on sliders, I want this chopped because I don't want those big pieces to kind of fall out of that slider bread. All right, that looks good to me. Nice and roughly chopped. I'm gonna take my meat and put it into this bowl right here. I have some romaine lettuce here. Again, just giving it a rough chop. Actually gonna push this to the side, all right? Super simple dressing. I have some mayo. All I'm gonna do is just add an Italian dressing that I love having in my fridge. I usually make it from scratch about like a week or so ahead of time and just kind of have it hanging around for my salads. And in this case, for my sandwich, it's just like your standard Italian dressing, some olive oil, some Parmesan, some vinegar and spices, like dried basil, oregano, and parsley. All right, mix it up. And I'm gonna toss that with my chopped meats, cheese, veggies, and lettuce. That looks good. Okay, all right, now, to this bowl, I'm gonna add my lettuce and that dressing. Just add a little bit at a time because I don't want to make this super soggy. Okay, give it a mix. Oh yeah, that's a chopped Italian salad. Wow. I got some sliders here that I've kind of sliced down the center. All right, so I'm just gonna take my chopped salad here and just add it to my bottom bun. This is definitely gonna be a hit at the party. And if you make it at home, it's gonna be a hit at your party too. And it's kind of messy, it's supposed to be that. I find that some of the messiest foods are the tastiest foods. Add my top bun, top it off, and this dish is done. All right, the fun part, take it apart. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna take a bite.
I started with ground chicken and I seasoned with salt and pepper. And I'm gonna add just a little melted butter and some Louisiana hot sauce, the stuff you'd use if you were making buffalo wings. I'm gonna go in with my hands. There's no better way. Ground chicken is such a great alternative to ground beef. Don't tell any rancher I said that. I love the texture of ground chicken. It's so soft and tender. Okay, I'm gonna divide this little pile in half and I'll make 2 equal-sized patties. When you're making buffalo chicken burgers, you don't wanna form teeny tiny thin patties. You really wanna make a nice, big, substantial one. Okay, I'm gonna get this into a skillet with a little vegetable oil in it. And I'll get the other one formed. While the burgers keep cooking away, I'm gonna whip up a really simple buffalo sauce. It's about a half a cup of melted butter, and I'll add the same amount of the hot sauce. I filled it a little bit full. I'm gonna try not to make a huge mess. I wanna stir this until it's totally mixed together and the butter isn't separated at all from the sauce. That looks great. Now I'm gonna flip the burgers. See how they look? Oh my goodness. Yum, yum. Now I want to start this saucy process. So I'm gonna spoon a couple of spoonfuls of the sauce onto each burger. So while they cook on the other side, I'm gonna make a simple blue cheese dressing to go on the burgers. Started with about half a cup of mayonnaise and the same amount of sour cream and about 1/4 a cup of blue cheese crumbles. You can add more if you're a big blue cheese fan. Splash of vinegar and salt and pepper. Another quick way you can make blue cheese dressing is just to take a bottle of ranch dressing and add blue cheese crumbles. Don't think I haven't done that from time to time. All right, that is all mixed together. So now I'm gonna get some buns into a skillet to toast. I've been heating up an iron skillet and I'll get a little bit of butter going. Instead of plain buns, I thought it would be really delicious to use onion rolls. So I'll get those in. Oh my gosh, the other side of these burgers looks delicious. Now I'm gonna pour just a little bit more sauce on the other side. All right, I'm gonna let these keep cooking for a couple minutes. I'm gonna get some of this sauce. This sauce is getting a workout. I'm gonna pour a little bit on the bottom bun. Okie doke. Time for the burgers to go on. This is a burger fit for a teenage boy. Okay, now I'm gonna put all sorts of fun stuff on top. I've got some thinly sliced celery, and I'll drop a little on each burger. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of blue cheese dressing on each pile of celery, and then a little bit of extra blue cheese crumbles. Why not? Okay, I'm gonna put a little dressing on the buns, the top buns.
Fresh pretzels and Cambozola pub cheese. Pretzels are yeasted bread, so we're gonna bloom some yeast. So this is 1 1/3 cups of warm water, and then a pinch of sugar. I'm gonna stir that up. And now I'm just gonna sprinkle the yeast on top. You don't wanna just kind of dump it in there because it'll clump.
I'm using a 1 1/4 ounce envelope of active dry yeast.
You just wanna stir your yeast around so all the little yeast can find sugar. I'm just gonna let that bloom. All right, now let's make the dough. So I've got 2 cups of bread flour. When you use bread flour, you're gonna get something really chewy. And then 2 cups of all-purpose. There's 2 different kinds of flours here. When you add a little bit of all-purpose, you'll get something a little bit softer. 2 tablespoons of sugar, big pinch of salt. Now let's crack some eggs. Okay, so our yeast is starting to go. Dump this in here. I'm gonna get this going on slow. Now I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of melted butter. I'm gonna mix this for like 3 minutes, just until the dough comes together, it's nice and smooth. All right, there we go. All right, that's a good looking dough. I sprayed this bowl with a little bit of cooking spray so the dough won't stick. There we go. So I'm gonna cover this dough and I'm gonna stick it on top of the fridge because it's nice and warm up there. I'm gonna let it rise for like 45 minutes to an hour. It's time, look at this. Really jumped up. So what I'm gonna do is pop this guy out. All right, so I'm gonna cut this guy right in half. I'm gonna cut it into 12 pieces. So this recipe makes 12 pretzels.
So now we're gonna form these into pretzels.
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna roll these guys to about 18 inches or so. Now you'll get a nice, big, long snake. So I'm gonna roll the rest of these out and then we're gonna shape them. Now we're gonna do, take your guy, you make a loop, cross these guys, you have a nice big circle. Cross them again, and then fold this guy over, boop, just like that. Let's just arrange these pretzels here, and we're gonna let these proof for about 20 minutes. And let it rise till it gets like nice and big. All right, so they've puffed up a little. They're really starting to look like soft pretzels. Now, the step we're doing here is really important for pretzels. This is 5 quarts of water and there's a half a cup of baking soda. Baking soda reacts with the starch. When you put them in the oven, it turns them nice and dark brown. So now what you do is just gently take your pretzel and put it in your spider. And just drop them in here. So the pretzel's in the water for about 30 seconds. So I'll drop in 3, and then I'm gonna flip them. You see how much bigger it gets right away. And there we go. I'm putting 6 on a sheet tray because the pretzels do get bigger. Just brush these pretzels with some melted butter. Make sure everybody gets a little butter so when the pretzels bake, they'll look even. This is pretzel salt. It's a lot bigger than kosher salt. Okay, now these are gonna go in the oven at 425 degrees for about 12 minutes or so. Oh man, look at those. These look great. They smell amazingly. All right, so I'm gonna get these guys off of here and let them cool. And then, for as delicious as pretzels are, we're gonna make something even more delicious. I am gonna make a cheese dip. This is Cambozola. Cambozola is a really soft cheese. It's kind of right in between brie and blue. All right, so here's how we're gonna do this. I have a half a cup of heavy cream, and then 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. And what this is gonna do is gonna help keep our cheese thick. It's also gonna help the fat from the cream and the fat from the cheese play nice. Okay, we'll just mix that up. And I'm gonna turn this on low. Now I have 2 tablespoons of honey. Cambozola is pretty sharp and pretty salty. The honey is really gonna round this out. It's gonna be a delicious dip. This is like fondue to go. I have 8 ounces of Cambozola here. And now I'm just gonna slowly start melting this in here. So now I'm adding the cheese slowly so it all incorporates. If I dumped it all in there, it's too shocking for that cream and those 2 different fats might start to break. Perfect. I would hate to get out on the trail and find that I didn't season this properly or maybe the pretzels didn't work with it. So I think just for, for science, I should probably taste this. Salty pretzel, and this is slightly sweet because of the honey. This is amazing.
These are my beer-battered Italian mozza balls.
Okay, all right.
Fresh mozzarella. These are Cilenginas, and these are the perfect poppable size. Oh, you need a dipper. Right? You need a dipper.
Absolutely.
Not just any pizza or marinara sauce. We are gonna make my pepperoni marinara sauce. You get it?
Snap.
Sonny, what you're gonna start with,
Alert.
what makes it a marinara is that ground pepperoni done in a food processor.
Okay, okay.
The oil from the giardiniera and the giardiniera itself. So you
Okay.
can start with the oil from the giardiniera. It's got
like
a ton
that.
of fermented flavor in there. Throw the pepperoni in it.
Okay.
Nice and kind of medium. Let it sweat out a little bit, get soft, impart all that beautiful flavor.
Okay.
You can throw some salt in there and some dried Italian seasoning. Hold the garlic until we're ready to add the liquid and so it doesn't burn.
Okay.
Now let's start with the batter. We got the fresh matzo balls here, right? You can leave them in the water. I got some rice flour to dredge. Now becomes this beer batter. We're using Italian Pilsner beer, right? We're sticking to the theme here, Sonny.
I'll take it.
We got some AP flour. We got some more rice flour we're gonna add, right? And the rice flour just kind of
Crunch,
crunch
man.
and crunch, man.
It's full coverage, right?
right.
It's a smaller grind, so
Yep.
it's gonna get into the cracks in the crack.
Exactly. And
Which actually happens on mozzarella.
So we got that with AP flour, some baking powder to help kind of leaven it up and give it some bubs in there, and plenty of salt, kosher salt. And this is the base, the dry base of our batter. Next comes that Italian Pilsner. You can use any light beer. I don't like super dark beer in my beer batters. I think it's just too much bitterness.
Yeah.
So it's about a cup, but you want to kind of do this in stages. You don't want to overmix it. That's one rule when making a good beer batter. You don't want to also destroy all those bubbles and all that effervescence, which adds lightness and airiness to your batter. But you also want it to chill out in the fridge for about 15 minutes.
I like that you really mixed all the dry ingredients together Because you want to do as little mixing as possible once you add liquid.
Yeah.
And like you almost want that pancake batter clump feel that they all say, because that's gonna pop in the hot oil and add, again, bubbles, crunch, all that. 15 minutes in the fridge. I got one ready to go right
Oh,
here.
you even rest it like pancake.
Yeah, you gotta rest it. You gotta rest it. So
Bubble up.
I suggest resting it while you're doing your marinara sauce. You got your oil looking at 350 right here. I got some peanut oil. And it tightens up, obviously. And this is pretty tight. That's why I have a little bit more beer to add a last dose of that carbonation in there. All right, now we got our
Can I add
beautiful
the,
balls
marinara
here.
now?
Yes, you can. Perfect. And the garlic before that, actually, in the oil. So make sure you sweat out that garlic for about 30 seconds.
Done and done.
And I'm gonna toss these and give that kind of Feb station going without the egg, of course. Instead of the breadcrumb, we're gonna do a batter, but this helps that batter cling. And that's all rice flour. Now we can take these guys and drop them right in that batter.
And why'd you decide to do this kind of batter instead of like traditional breadcrumb?
In high school, we had cheese sticks, all right? It come in 5 cheese sticks, which is an odd number.
Yeah, were they rock hard by the time you got to them,
you
right?
know what they were. They're all like limp. One was hanging a left, one was hanging a right. The breadcrumbs were barely hanging on, barely even yellow, let alone golden. But they were gratifying in a way. And I was like, it's been my mission to find great cheese sticks ever since. And it's really difficult because my favorite type of cheese stick is a batter cheese sticks. And they're really hard to find. Mostly they're just breadcrumbs or
I don't
Italian
think I've ever
breadcrumbs.
had a battered one.
Oh,
It's just like, think about like breaded fish versus battered fish. I mean, what kind of evokes that pub style? And if you've ever had true, fried cheese curds, they're always beer battered. So this is kind of,
Okay, so it's like a combo.
it's a combo of everything. And when I was testing this out, it was my goal to do a whole log of fresh mozzarella. And I made about 8 of them, and I went through a tremendous amount of cheese, and I just couldn't crack the code. Because it wouldn't melt enough. Because fresh mozzarella is
You wanted
very.
like a whole big.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So right into that hot oil, one at a time, so they don't stick together.
It's like donut holes here.
We got my oil here at about 375, perfect temperature to get them golden brown while melting that interior.
Is the cheese cold or room temperature?
The cheese I recommend kind of having out for a little bit, just so it's not rock hard cold when you put it in there and kind of expedite the meltitude of it, if you will.
Meltitude.
You just want to move them around till they're golden brown.
Delicious.
All right, these are gonna take a second. I have some in the oven, so you guys don't wait no more.
We cannot wait on these.
But this is why we took the time. I took the time to make 4,000 versions of that. It's because you
Come
got
on, Jeff.
these beautiful. Are they hush puppies? Are they fried
What
cheese
are
curds?
they?
What are they? They're fried. They're golden brown. They got craggles
marinara
on them.
sauce over there?
Yeah, can you put that in that crock for me right there, please, Sonny?
Done and done.
These
Man,
are hot
this
and
is
ready
so
to go. And
good.
of course, right when they come out of the oil, you're gonna hit it with some salt. Fresh mozzarella needs salt. I mean,
it
for
does.
days.
I feel like I'm truly in the pub right now with the way that the set looks. We got our mahogany counters.
Oh, look at that
this.
marinara with all your
Marinara.
peppers,
Oh, come on.
all your pepper needs. All right, I'm gonna give you some. Who's trying it first here?
Me. Oh my gosh, I can smell the pepperoni.
I love the pepperoni in there.
It really, that's a real definition of meat sweats right there.
That is right there,
Ground
yeah,
up
it's
pepperoni.
I like this one that's kind of popped open.
It's okay when they pop open because the cheese then creates a automatic seal on it, much like a spaceship. And that seal is crispy cheese lattice cheese skirt.
I have
You know
a
what I
fork?
mean?
Shut your mouth.
I like
Jeff.
these crunchies. These crunchies.
I know, I'm about to
that
put them on
fun.
there too. Put them right on here, Sonny.
Okay, I'll tell you what this first bite, what this reminds me of. In Naples, fried pizza.
Oh, yeah?
This is the pizza frito. It reminds me so much of that because that batter turns doughy, and it's got the crispiness on the outside, that melted cheese in there.
All right, now I've been starting by sauteing some onions and celery, and I'll add some garlic to give it amazing flavor. And now for the beef, and I'll just go right in with it, and then I'll just stir this around and get the beef cooking. I need it to get totally brown, so I'll let it keep going. Now, normally when I make chili, I usually let the meat brown and then I add some tomato products like diced tomatoes, tomato juice. But this time, I'm gonna whip up a batch of Bloody Marys and that's gonna go into the chili. It's a really, really fun variation. So into the pitcher, I'll add about a half a bottle of Bloody Mary mix, about 15 ounces or so. And then of course, Bloody Mary has vodka in it. So I just pour in a little bit of vodka, not too much, about 1/4 cup or so, give or take. These are big, strong men. And then for some nice savory flavor, some Worcestershire sauce. And I know those guys like spice, so I need to put some hot sauce in here. They would be disappointed if it didn't burn their tongue just a little bit. Now, one ingredient I always add to Bloody Marys when I make them, it's a little unusual, Montreal steak seasoning. I love this kind of seasoning. It's just so deep and savory and a little bit salty. It makes everything absolutely delicious. And that right there is Bloody Mary. I could just pour this over a glass of ice right now, but I won't. It's gotta go into the chili. Okay, the meat is totally brown. Now, if there's excess grease, you can drain it off, but there wasn't too much here. It was pretty lean. So for the chili seasoning, I'll add a good amount of chili powder. I love that deep, dark flavor. I always add cumin to my chili. There's just that unmistakable flavor that I absolutely love. And then a little bit of ground oregano, another great chili seasoning. And I'll stir this around. Oh, it smells so good. Now, you guessed it, it's time for the Bloody Mary to go in. This is gonna create the most delectable sauce. Oh, smells so good. And then I have 2 different kinds of beans. I just had a can of kidney beans and a can of pinto beans. I drained them and rinsed them, and they just go right in. And I'll just stir them in. All right, looking so good. Now I'm gonna put the lid on, and I'm gonna simmer it for an hour, and it's gonna get even better.
I'm gonna start by melting some caramel in my pan. And to help soften it, I'm gonna also add 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. I'm just gonna let these melt, and I'm gonna stir it around to get the heavy cream incorporated, and the heavy cream just softens the caramel a little bit. This smells delicious. My caramel is smooth and melted. I'm gonna add my miso paste now. I'm adding 1.5 tablespoons. A little bit goes a long way, and this is gonna add umami, which I like to think of as like 3-dimensional saltiness. It's so good. If you don't wanna go out and get miso paste, you can certainly just add a few good pinches of salt to this caramel. But I love the little something extra that miso adds. Oh gosh, it smells so good. I'm really excited to eat these. All right, I'm going to set the caramel aside to cool slightly, and that'll help me form the sandwiches. So I'll pour it into my bowl. I have my pan lined with parchment, and the parchment is just to help prevent the caramel from sticking. And now I'll grab my crackers. And these treats are the best because they are no bake. They come together so easily. Now I'm gonna arrange my crackers all over my pan. And these salty crackers drive home that salty and sweet combination that I love so much. I am making 6 rows of 6, 36. Okay, now each of these is gonna get a dollop of caramel. I'm using my teaspoon, which will be the perfect amount. I wanna add the most amount of caramel without it going over the edge. And then I'm gonna tap it with a cracker. You are gonna be so tasty. Now I'm gonna melt my chocolate. I'm using dark chocolate here so that it's not overly sweet with the caramel, but you can pretty much use any chocolate that you want. And I'm gonna melt it in a double boiler, which is just a bowl set over a pot of boiling water. And I'm gonna stir it as it melts so that it's nice and smooth. This is melted and looking good. So I'm gonna remove it from the heat, and then I'll be ready to dip my cookies into it. I'm gonna dunk each of these halfway into the chocolate, and then scrape off any excess. And give them a few sprinkles. These are so simple and so good. These cracker cookies are dangerous to have around though, so I'm glad that I have friends coming over to help me eat them. Otherwise, I'll just eat this whole pan. Look how cute it is. Okay, I kind of want to taste this. My friends are gonna dig these.
Okay, the meat's all browned up. So the first thing I need to do is drain the fat. I'll leave a little bit for flavor. Okay, much, much better. Now I've got half of a medium onion that I diced. I'll throw that in. And a green pepper. And then I have 5 cloves of minced garlic. These sloppy joes are mighty flavorful. Now the basis of the sloppy joe sauce is good old ketchup. I'm gonna squeeze in probably a cup and a half or so. Okay, and then I'll add 2 heaping tablespoons of brown sugar just to give the sauce a little sweetness. Is that heaping enough for you? Some salt and pepper. It's a lot of meat we're seasoning here. And then for some really great flavor, I add a couple of teaspoons of chili powder. It adds a little spice too, but really gives it a nice kick. And then a heaping teaspoon of dry mustard. Gives it some nice tang. And then for a little bit more of a kick, I'll just add a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes. And then several dashes of Worcestershire just to give it some nice savoriness. Okay, and then because I'm that kind of gal, a couple dashes of hot sauce. 2 or 3 or 4. And then I'll just add a cup of water to kind of bring all this together and make a really yummy sauce out of it. Now I'll just kind of stir it all together and see what I've got. And I usually adjust things here and there. It looks like it could use a little more ketchup, a little more depth of color. Squeeze a little more in there. All right, now I've got this just where I want it. So I'm just gonna put the lid on and let it simmer for about 25 minutes or so.
I'm making my easy chili cheese French bread pizza. So simple. I've got the same bread. I've hollowed it out a little bit though, so I can put that chili in there and just put this bread to the side. You can make breadcrumbs. You can also put it on a sheet and toast it if you've got like a cheese sauce at your big game party. It's fun for a dip for your guests. All right, so this is just store-bought garlic butter. Be generous, you know, sometimes I'll even kind of go in and just like pour it down the center and then spread it around. I'm gonna get this into the oven to toast it. You could do 400, 450. You're just going for the edges to get lightly golden brown, and then you're gonna bring it back out and top it. Get this in here. Should only take about, 10 minutes for it to get like this. Then on the inside, I'm gonna add my 5-ingredient chili. So the 5 ingredients are so simple. It's just some ground beef, a can of tomatoes and green chilies, a can of black beans, an onion, and chili powder. All right, so I'm gonna get this into the hollows here. Just scoop this in here and get it along the length. I used to be team no beans in my chili until I put some black beans in. We've got kidney beans here. If you want to lean the beans out, you're more than welcome. And this recipe is actually so simple. All those ingredients, just add them. Makes a very quick and simple chili for your guests. Just 5 ingredients. We've got that recipe on the Food Network Kitchen app, and I'm even demoing it live for you so you can see how to put it together. But I mean, come on, it's so simple. All right, over the top of this chili, gonna add a blend of cheese, just cheddar and Monterey Jack. You can use cheddar and pepper jack, but I'm bringing a little bit of fire with jalapenos in the end. And what I really like about the jalapenos is they kind of show you a serving size. It makes it easy for people to slice up and portion on their own. So mounds and mounds of cheese. Now, over the top of that, just, you know, think about the serving size and put a jalapeno freshly sliced along the length as well. And then you can imagine when this comes out, people are gonna cut between the jalapenos. Everyone gets a nice little jalapeno bite. And it also adds some curb appeal. And just keep on going down along the length. Now, this isn't done. When I bring it out of the oven, there's more toppings. As GZ and I were called, wow, GZ, the accoutrement, what is going on? Please,
right.
okay, I'm gonna get this into the oven for about 15, 20 minutes at 400 degrees. All right, over here, putting a little bit of scallions over the top, making it rain scallions.
Rain, make it rain. You can't have enough basil or cheese as far as I'm concerned.
Cilantro over the top to kind of match your basil love.
Oh.
Then a nice drizzle of crema. If you can't find crema, it's just a looser version of sour cream. Just get in there and add a little bit of milk to your sour cream, or even water. Sometimes I'll do some lime juice to loosen it up.
Just sounds better, crema, right?
It does. Just get that on there. And then a nice shake of hot sauce. You ready to put this down, GZ?
This is a lot of work here.
All right.
Beep, beep, beep.
I mean, come on.
Oh. Hook me up with the chili and the cheese and the chili and the cheese.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, GZ. Of course he would cut his in half. I'm gonna cut mine just like you.
That is delicious. The crunch.
Oh.
I've just been getting the potatoes ready. I cut the potatoes and then I soaked them in water for an hour just to remove the starch. Now before I fry the potatoes, I need to pat them really dry. There's a little bit of a knack to cutting the potatoes. Let me walk you through it. I cut the end off of a potato. Then using a mandolin with the crinkle slicer, I cut down. The first slice is always a crinkle. I rotated the potato 90 degrees, cut down, and there it was, a thin waffle fry. Just be very careful with that mandolin. It is sharp. So I kept going, cutting and rotating until I had a big pile. For the first stage of frying, I'm gonna put the potatoes in vegetable oil that's been heated to 260 degrees, and I'm just gonna fry them for 2 minutes for the initial stage. No matter what kind of fries I make, I always fry them twice. Okay, the potatoes have had their first fry. They're really soft, so I'm gonna take them out of the oil and let them drain. All right, I'm gonna turn the heat up under the pot, and I'm gonna heat the oil to 325, and then I'll return the potatoes to the pot for another 3 minutes. Okay, the potatoes are ready to come out. I stopped short of them getting too brown. They are beautifully golden. These are so thin. They're on the verge of being potato chips. Now what makes these fries extra delicious is this simple seasoning mix. Let me tell you how to throw it together. Okay, seasoning mix coming right up. I added a teaspoon of seasoned salt to a bowl, along with half a teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne, and mixed it together. I will get these fries onto a platter. Ooh, they look amazing. It's sour cream and onion dip, made with half a cup of mayo, half a cup of sour cream, a teaspoon of Dijon, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, the same amount of salt, a tablespoon of chopped chives, and you guessed it, everything is mixed together. A few stirs and the dip is done. This dip is the perfect partner for these fries.
I'm scoring a touchdown with this one. It's a beef chili-like mixture covered in miniature corn dogs. That's right, it's a corn dog hot dish. So to start, I'm chopping up an onion. I've also got some chopped celery. I'll just get these softening in my brazier. I'll add a drizzle of oil. I have this going over medium-high. So I'll add in my onion and 3 stalks of chopped celery, and then a pinch of salt. And just stir this around and allow the veggies to soften. A hot dish is a type of casserole that's a full meal in a pot. It's got veggies, meat, some kind of sauce to hold it together, and something fun and crispy on top. I've got a pound of 90-10 ground beef, and this isn't too fatty. I figure since I'm covering this thing with a blanket of cheese and corn dogs, I'll give us all a fighting chance. I'll break it up with my spoon, and as it cooks, I'll season it. I'll sprinkle in a half teaspoon of kosher salt, some black pepper, crank up the heat with some chili powder, cumin, garlic powder, half a teaspoon of celery salt, a nod to my favorite Chicago hot dogs, and then a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon is kind of unexpected, but I love the warmth that it provides. And I'll continue cooking this over medium-high, breaking the meat up with my spoon until it's browned, about 6 to 7 minutes. The beef is cooked, I'll build my sauce right in my brazier. I've got a can of tomato sauce, and then some other hot doggy elements. I've got pickle relish. I'm using the sweet kind because I love that added sweetness. Gotta have mustard on the dog. And the bright tanginess is a good balance to all these heavy flavors. And 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce will add more saltiness and really tasty depth. I'll stir this around and then reduce the heat to medium and simmer this just for a few minutes so that the flavors can melt and allow the mixture to reduce slightly. I don't want it to be overly liquidy and make my corn dog sink. This is looking cozy. I've got the corn dogs, but first I'm gonna lay down a layer of shredded cheddar cheese, which will sort of act as a barrier to prevent the corn dogs from getting soggy on the bottom, and also it'll be melty and good. I wanna get it all the way to the edge so you get crispy cheese edges. And now the corn dogs. So just like tots, you want these in a thin single layer all over the top so that they bake up evenly. I'll do concentric circles since it'll be pretty. This is a perfect choose your own adventure dish because you can either just have an appetizer and pick off a corn dog, or you can scoop to the bottom and get the chili too. I'll continue on topping this and then stick it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 25 minutes until these corn dogs are golden and crisp. That is the smell of happiness. I mean, how could you not smile looking at this? I'm smelling the corn from the corn dog coating. All right, the last thing I'll do is finish it off with some chives just because it's pretty. It's like football grass. I'm gonna find an extra crispy one. I've got my ketchup on standby to help cool it down so it doesn't burn my mouth. I'm getting all the way to the bottom to get some chili. That is ridiculous. The sweetness of the corn dog is bringing this home for me.
I'll start with half a cup of honey. This is sort of a honey mustard marinade, and it is delish. And then half a cup of Dijon mustard. Slice a lemon in half and add the juice. Now I'll just add about a teaspoon of paprika. Gives it a really nice flavor. I'm not into measuring cups or measuring spoons today, as you can tell. And then for just a little spice, some crushed red pepper, and then just some salt and black pepper. And that's the marinade. I'll just give it a whisk. All right, now I'll get the chicken ready. I've got 4 pretty big chicken breasts. Now, a lot of times I'll put them inside a big plastic bag and pound them a little flat, but these are big enough that I'm actually gonna cut them in half. And I don't mean in half this way. I'll just put my hand on top of the chicken, press lightly, and then cut the piece right in half. I like to do this rather than pounding them flat because you still keep the regular shape of the chicken breast, but it's a little thinner. Now I'll just throw those into the marinade and I'll cut the rest of them up. I love this marinade. The honey gives it sweetness, the Dijon mustard gives it a nice tang, and the crushed red pepper flakes make it a little bit spicy. Oh, so much good stuff going on. These need to cook about 3 to 4 minutes on the first side. Yum, it smells so good in this kitchen. I love indoor grills. If you don't have a grill, you can just cook these in the skillet. I do that all the time. I was just in a grilling mood today. They'll only take about 2 more minutes on this side. Now I've got the bacon that I fried earlier. I actually cut the pieces in half, so I have 12 slices of bacon that are halved. It makes them a little bit easier to cover the chicken. The chicken and bacon go so well together. The chicken's nice and moist, and the bacon's a little bit crispy and chewy. Oh, it's so, so good. All right, these are gonna be done before too long. So I'll grab the cheese. I love these sandwiches. They make me happy. And then I'll just top each piece of chicken with plenty of cheese. The chicken looks delicious. I'm gonna go ahead and build the sandwiches. Just put them right from the grill straight onto the bun. I love wrapping these in foil and delivering them because something happens in that foil. The bun just keeps getting softer and softer and it keeps the chicken warm. Yum. Perfect portable lunch. All right, now I'll just turn off the grill and get these wrapped up. Now I'm just gonna pack these up with some bottles of water and some apples, and that is the perfect lunch for a family of fence fixers.
So today I'm making a really fun dip. It's my barbecue chicken and pepperoni dip.
Oh.
Ooh. Very easy to make. First things first, you start off with a homemade barbecue sauce. So in this little sauce pot right here, I'm gonna put in some onion, a little bit of garlic, get in there for some flavor, a little heat from the red chili flakes. Always say better than just pizza, you know? You can use them all around the kitchen.
Absolutely.
Right.
Apple cider vinegar, some Worcestershire sauce right there.
The original umami.
Yeah, the original umami.
Yeah, original.
I mean,
Way before
so
that
many
word was even
ingredients
like a
in there
big
that
deal.
really give it
Even
that
before
unctuous
fish
flavor.
sauce.
Yep.
And then to that, a little bit of cola.
So you're not browning anything because it's all you're adding all that liquid, yeah.
Caramelization from the cola, and you can use root beer as well. It's really delicious.
Yep.
A little bit of ketchup.
I like to keep it a little more healthy and use Diet Cola in my.
So you cook this down for about 25 minutes, and it just becomes nice and thick, like a barbecue sauce consistency. You can add a little bit of salt and pepper to flavor it. Cream cheese, and then to that, you wanna help me mix?
Yes, ma'am.
Got a whole chicken diced for rotisserie, the dark and the white meat. To that, I'm gonna add that barbecue sauce that we made to help you kind of mix it. That goes in, just a cup of it. Then I'm gonna add a little bit more flavor with Italian seasoning.
Well, these tailgaters don't know what to have coming.
Hello.
I'm not even making it in the stadium. I'll be taking a nap.
Forget the game.
Some scallions there, white and green parts. And then before I started, I just sauteed 2 ounces of pepperoni that I chopped up and a little bit of
I salute
olive oil. You like that?
I love it.
So you salute me?
I think pepperoni is like, you know.
It's a major food group.
Yeah, it
is a major food group,
It's like
you know what I mean?
Underrated.
Underrated food
So that
group, for
goes
sure.
in. To that, the Cheddar Monterey Jack blend.
Yeah, you and Jeff Mauro don't mess around with your dips.
Oh,
do
we
you?
ain't playing, we ain't playing. I spent my time in the Midwest, I know what's up. And then some mozzarella goes in right there.
There you go.
Wow.
Now all that goes into a little casserole dish. You got that?
Yep.
It's a lot.
No, Americans.
There's a lot going on, but I got it.
Last year, Americans spent $35 billion on tailgating food.
What?
Looks
There you go. 25, just to balance it for about 20, 25 minutes, and it's good to go. Give it a taste.
I love that you put out apples with that.
Yeah, I love chicken and apples together, and I mean, it is so cheesy goodness with a lot of fattening ingredients, so why not throw some fruit and vegetables out? And also,
Absolutely.
pretzel sticks are great for this as well. You wanna give it a taste?
Should I try it with an apple?
Yeah, apples are best.
Granny
I love
Smith are my
apples.
favorite, yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, look out. Oh. Yeah!
Smoked brisket queso. I poured 2 cans of beef consomme into a roasting pan, added 1.5 cups of soy sauce, 1/2 cup of fresh lemon juice to brighten things up, 2 tablespoons of liquid smoke, 5 cloves of chopped garlic, and mixed it all together. Then I put a 10-pound beef brisket in the marinade, fat side up, covered it with a foil lid, and put it in the fridge to marinate for 24 hours. The next step was to braise the brisket at 300 degrees for 40 minutes per pound. This one took about 7 hours. Then, when it was done, I shredded it with 2 large forks. It's pretty hard to beat the original queso recipe. I started by sauteing some diced jalapeños and onions in a little bit of olive oil, and they're really soft and almost getting a little crisp and caramelized around the edges. So the quintessential ingredient for any queso is tomatoes and green chilies. So in goes the whole can, and you want to get the juices in there too, so do not drain the can. And then I'll stir in the onions and jalapeños, so it just kind of makes the tomato and chili mixture that much more flavorful. So in goes the cheese, and there is nothing fancy, gourmet, or sophisticated about this cheese. It is processed cheese product. There's no other kind of cheese that gives you that delicious queso texture. So I've got the heat on low because I don't want to burn the cheese. So the hot tomatoes and chilies and onions are kind of starting to melt it already. So now just to give it a little more creaminess, about 3 tablespoons of milk. And something a little different about this queso is I'm gonna add a bag of roasted corn. It's frozen, but it's just gonna go in with everything else. And this is one of those things that you could just put in a slow cooker if you wanted to, if you have the time. And then you just need to kind of melt it all together until it's bubbly and perfect. So I'm gonna add a nice little pile of the shredded brisket right in the center of the bowl. And then back to the queso. Let's give it one more stir and make sure it's all melted and perfect. So I'll get a big ladle because this is going to be a shareable portion for sure. There's just something about the combination of this creamy queso and this super smoky brisket. It's just a winning partnership. So I'm gonna put more brisket on top, and I kind of spread out the shreds a little bit. If you're gonna make smoked brisket queso, make smoked brisket queso. Okay, so you can just serve it like this, but I like to take some pico de gallo and sprinkle it around the edge so it's on top of the queso. And then extra cilantro is always a good idea. All right, and now for a finishing touch, just as a nod to the brisket, I've got a bottle of my favorite barbecue sauce. And I'm just gonna do a little back and forth on the brisket itself. You can get a little drop or 2 on the queso, but that just drives home that barbecue brisket vibe. And then I've got some chips, and I'll just pile them around the platter. Okay, I guess that's enough chips. I can't fit any more on the platter.
I'm making my crunchy taco bites.
I'll take it. I'm already in.
All right, so let's get to making our filling for these. So these are essentially just wontons stuffed with taco meat and deep fried. All right, so I've got my ground beef here. I'm gonna add to it some taco seasoning just out of the packet.
Love it.
These are really, really easy. Breadcrumbs.
Oh.
Okay, hold it together then.
I got an egg going in.
Is this meatloaf?
It is kind of like a meat. You could actually like double or triple this and make it a meatloaf.
Love.
Grated onion.
That makes it so juicy.
I like to grate the onion because if you chop them up, it's not going to be cooked completely, and you'll get that raw onion thing going.
No bueno.
Cream cheese.
Oh my God.
Oh, stop it.
And some shredded cheddar. Now,
There's a flag on the play, flag on the play. I'd like some pepper jack in that, please, not cheddar. Can I do that?
you could put whatever kind of cheese you want.
Okay.
All right, so Alex, if you could chop up some of that cilantro for me, that's gonna go in here too. I almost forgot there's something green in this. Now, there is a lot of salt in that taco seasoning, but I'm gonna add just a pinch more. And a little bit of pepper. This recipe is like Geoffrey's worst nightmare. He's looking at this.
No.
What the heck?
He did-
Don't
he did-
judge.
He was saying some things under his breath about this recipe
I know, he
just a
probably
second ago.
was.
No,
He said, where do you get a packet of tacos?
Yeah, he's.
No, I was gonna
What
ask
is this
you.
taco seasoning you speak
I think
of?
he started
There you go.
twitching
Put
with the
that right
cream
in there.
cheese. I think the cream cheese is when is that
I
enough?
put a lot of cheese
that's
in my
good.
meatballs.
I like the cream cheese because it kind of helps it stick together, but also it gives a richness, and you know, any cheese to me is a good idea. Alex, you got the wonton wrappers there.
Yes.
I'm gonna take a rounded teaspoonful.
See, I love this because you can do this whole thing in advance. and literally have a dramatic moment where you just fry them and pass them out.
Yes.
Right.
People love that.
These would be perfect to make ahead and keep in your freezer. Good little after-school snack.
Yep.
Oh,
Plus,
yeah.
way to stretch ground meat. You know what I mean?
Now, I've got some here in the fridge because I like to let them set up in the refrigerator before I fry them.
I'm over here panic making them, thinking you need a whole batch, and you're ready.
So here we go. I got some right here. And our oil is ready, 375 degrees.
Wow.
These only take about 1 to 2 minutes to fry. So it's really quick. It's great to make these in advance. And then when everybody comes, you just drop them in and you got these great little fried taco bites.
Same thing from the freezer. You can freeze those separately, then put them in the bag so they don't stick.
Exactly.
You just drop them right in.
All right, Alex, I'm gonna have you babysit this fryer for me, and I'm gonna make us a dip because every big game needs a dip.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm gonna start this out. This is a chipotle honey
Oh, I love that.
creamy dip.
Okay.
I've got sour cream going into the food processor.
Katie, there's no yogurt, there's no chopped kale somewhere.
I
in there.
know,
Is everything
right?
okay?
It's game day.
Game day, all bets are off. I've got mayonnaise.
Oh, there you go.
And this sauce you could totally use for tacos as well, or put it on a sandwich, so save any
Burger
leftovers.
even. Yep.
I've got a little chipotle and adobo.
Dude, that's an impressive amount.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I like a lot.
That honey's gonna
Love it.
relax it. You
Yeah,
know?
we
Sort of
got
like
honey.
an aioli, right? Kind
It
of.
is, yeah. Yeah, and you know, you've got the sour cream in there that really mellows out the spice. A little bit of salt.
Mellows out the
And
spice.
I'm gonna add some lime juice to this. Just to
Okay.
I love that.
bring it all together.
It's a vegetable.
Yeah.
That's
It is.
right.
It's
See,
a
guys,
fruit.
it's a smoothie.
Vitamin C.
It's a smoothie. We got calcium in there
Yeah,
in
you
our
got
sour
calcium,
cream.
eggs. You got eggs.
I can justify anything, okay?
Plenty of vitamin M.
I should just then
Mayo.
send you everything I eat for dinner, and you just justify that it's okay. Yeah.
All right.
These are so fun to make, too.
Let me taste
Because they're
this.
so quick.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got some heat to it.
Crispy pockets of meat dunked into cool, spicy dipper sauce.
Yeah.
That's game day.
All right, so here's our sauce. Those are looking so good, Alex. I've got some more in the oven back here
Yeah, that's not
that I've
enough.
been keeping warm.
Yeah, this is for half a
Okay,
person.
bring the buffet on this. Kick this off, Katie.
Right? We need all these good, crunchy wontons. Look at those.
Just look at the bubs on there.
What do you have the oven just to
Yum,
keep it
yum.
warm, like the lowest warm?
Yeah, I put it on like 250. Just keep it warm.
I love the way those wontons fry up. I mean, there's nothing more gratifying than
Gratification right there.
right there, a little.
Yeah.
This is the type of thing you bring out and all your guests are like, oh, wow, I want those.
I think
They go
wontons are
fast.
they're like the puff pastry of the freezer section as well, in that you can make it if you want, but it's way easier to just to buy
Yep,
that stack
good
of
point.
50 or 100.
Totally.
Or 1,000.
Yeah.
Come 1,000 now.
Yeah, they do. That's a lot of pocketed taco meat.
Ooh, look at that
Pocket.
fresh crispy right there.
All right, guys.
Oh,
I
pass
want
the
the ones that
down.
are shiny.
Yes.
Look almost too hot to eat.
Let's start
My
the
God, that looks
buffet.
so fun.
Let me wet the
Game
whistle.
day
Oh, wow.
is ready to go. Better have a beer with these.
Yeah.
Double
Here,
fisting
Kate,
the
let me have a
beer.
At once.
Yes, Mama needs a beer too.
Time is money.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me to get in there. I'm getting in.
Cheers.
Cheers.
There we go.
Cheers.
What a great way to start.
Good, Jay. Happy first quarter. Go Bears.
I'm making the breading for the chicken nuggets now, and I'm starting with 2 eggs, and I'll add about 2 tablespoons of water, just a simple egg wash, and I'll beat these together. Now the breading for the nuggets is gonna be panko crumbs, which are nice and crisp. You can also use regular breadcrumbs or seasoned breadcrumbs, whatever you have in your pantry. Now I'm gonna make a flour mixture. And when you're doing quick and easy recipes, it's nice to just make things in a bag or bowl and just toss everything together. So I'm gonna add a cup of flour and then a tablespoon of seasoned salt. This is quite a bit of flour, so it needs seasoning. A favorite seasoning in our house is lemon pepper, so I'll add about 1/4 teaspoon. And then back to the salt and pepper. And rather than grab a clean spoon, you can just kind of gather it up and shake it until it's all combined. All right, Now I've already got the chicken ready. I cut 2 chicken breasts into little nugget bites, and I'm gonna drop it right into the bag. And then I'm gonna seal it this time because I don't want the flour mixture going everywhere. I always leave a little bit of air in the bag, and then I can shake it up, think about my to-do list for the day. It takes a minute just to get everything coated. All right, these nuggets are perfectly coated in this flour. So I'm gonna drop them quickly into the egg wash and then quickly into the crumbs. All right, now while my fingers are still a mess, I'm gonna go ahead and drop half of the nuggets into a pot of oil. Okay, believe it or not, this first batch of chicken nuggets are ready to come out. Look how quickly those cooked. And now I'll put the rest of them in. I'll use the spatula this time since my hands are clean. Okay, I'm gonna let this second batch keep cooking, and I'm gonna get the stuff ready for the sandwiches. I've got some beautiful red tomatoes, and I'll just slice them up. Now I've also got a bunch of bacon, and I'm gonna use them in halves, so I just cut a bunch of slices in half. And then I have some beautiful leaves of butter lettuce. Okay, that's 6 leaves. This is perfect. Okay, now I'm ready to build the sandwich. I'm very excited. For the bread, I'm using a Kaiser roll. I'll spoon on some ranch first. So you can use your own, or you can use the bottled stuff. Then a leaf of lettuce, 4 half slices of bacon. All right, now I'm gonna add some nuggets. Now I wanted to add some pickles to the mix, and I'm gonna put those right on top of the chicken, just some dill pickle slices. All right, and then I'm gonna drizzle on just a little bit more ranch. I like to drizzle it on the chicken and pickles. A couple of tomato slices, and then ketchup on the top bun. Then the lid goes on, and I'm gonna make 5 more.
I'm making my charred corn 7-layer dip, which explodes with flavor and freshness, and the colors are so pretty together. This is truly in a league of its own. I'm starting with the refried bean layer. I've got an onion and garlic cooking in my pan with some oil and salt. I'm gonna add a can of diced green chilies, which I love for their sour acidity. I'll also plop in 2 chipotle peppers in adobo sauce, along with some of the liquid from the can for that smokiness. 2 cans of pinto beans that have been rinsed and drained. I'll bring it together with 1 1/4 cups of low sodium chicken stock. Season with some salt, and stir it up and allow it to reduce until it's thickened to a gravy-like consistency. I love 7-layer dip because sometimes at parties, just chips and salsa or chips and guac aren't enough for me. I want a full meal on a chip, and that's what this gives you. Okay, these beans are thickened and looking fly. I'm gonna blend them up in my food processor now. Beans are the heaviest, which is why they're on the bottom layer. But with those diced green chilies, they actually taste really bright. Oh, that's looking and smelling good. I'll spread this out along the bottom. Layer 1 is down, and now I'll get on to layers 2, 3, and 4. For my second layer, I'll whip up a guacamole. I like a simple but lime-heavy guacamole. So I'll start with the zest of a lime. And in my bowl, I've got 4 large avocados. And then I'll also add the juice of not 1, but 2 limes. Next, some chopped fresh cilantro. Season with a couple of good pinches of kosher salt, and then use a potato masher to mash this up. That looks good. I'll spread this right over the beans. Such pretty contrast between the beans and the guacamole. And I like to be really precise and use a small offset to spread it out. Holy guacamole! Layer 2 down. Now my sour cream, spiked with smoky paprika and coriander for extra oomph. I'll plop this on. I love love sour cream. Spread this out evenly. Oh, this is like frosting a cake. So satisfying. And now the star of the show, charred corn salsa. I've got my corn here that's already charred. I'll add a finely chopped red onion and a finely chopped Fresno chili. Some cilantro, black pepper, salt, and then I'll bring it together with lime juice and olive oil. Many limes were harmed in the making of this dip. All right, now I'll finish it off with my remaining 3 layers. 5, cotija cheese for milky saltiness. 6, some sliced radishes for a peppery bite. And 7 green onions to make it pop. Could it be? I think I have all of the layers on this chip. Here I go.
All right, I got a flat top here. I wanna douse it with a little bit of oil. I'm gonna add some onions. I have about 2 large onions sliced here. I'm gonna cook these onions down before I add my meat. I wanna also season my onions. Add a little Worcestershire sauce, give it a smoky steakhouse flavor. Some soy sauce. While this cooks down, I gotta season my crab meat and make my sauce. I have about 1 pound of lump crab meat. I'm gonna add seafood seasoning to this. For the most part, I'm gonna cook down that shaved beef with the onions, and right before I put it inside the bread, I'm gonna fold in this crab meat, keeping it whole, so when you bite into this sandwich, you're gonna get big chunks of juicy beef with sweet chunks of crab meat. Oh yeah. Is your mouth watering yet? That's the point. As if this cheesesteak isn't already amazing with that beef and crab meat, gotta make a special sauce to go on top of it. I mean, this thing is flavorful. I've got some mayo here. The great thing about making sauces from scratch, you eyeball it. You taste it and add and take away whatever as you go. All right, this sauce is it's a variation of this sauce that I make all the time. It's called Have Mercy sauce. It's a pretty simple sauce. So I put in a little hot sauce. I'm gonna add some Dijon mustard. Gives it a little tang, that's what I like to say. Some salt and pepper. And I'm going to give it a little taste to see if I need to add anything. I'm ready for this tailgate party. It's creamy, it's a little spicy, it's a little tangy. That's good. All right, so just gonna funnel this in my little squeeze bottle here. So I wanna squirt it on top. My onions are starting to cook down. What I like to do is just to sweat them out a little bit more, is add some water. Mixing them around, heat down a little bit. All right, now I'm gonna add in some shaved beef. Sometimes they have this pre-packaged, but if not, you just go to your butcher and ask them to basically shave some beef for you. Turn my heat back up. I'm excited about this. I have eaten my fair share of cheesesteaks, and I enjoy making them at home. All right, I'm gonna add a little soy sauce, just a little squirts of that. I'm gonna switch over now because I know better. I'm gonna use my spat. You ever been to a cheesesteak place? You always hear this iconic, you know they're doing something magical back there. So I'm only cooking the beef until I don't see any more pink. All right, what I like to do is add some cherry peppers. I love cherry peppers. It's a little briny, a little salty, a little vinegary. This would be a great time to add that crab meat. Look at that, y'all. We're just gonna make more than enough, and that's okay. I'm gonna send them home with something. Last but not least, add this American cheese on top. Get that melted down. The only way to go is white American. The crab, the cheese, the seasoning, some of that special sauce, my Have Mercy sauce is gonna go on top. Why not top these off? Why not top them off? This one needs a little bit more loving. Got my sauce, just gonna put that right on top. Look at that. surf and turf cheesesteaks.
I melted some butter and added a couple cloves of grated garlic. And for the rolls, I tore out the tops and I put the chunks on the pan with the rolls. And I'm brushing everything with garlic butter. Okay, that's all the garlic butter. So I'm gonna put these into the oven at 375 degrees for about 10 minutes just to get them nice and golden. While the rolls are in the oven, I'm gonna make the meatballs. I've got a bunch of ground beef in a bowl and I'll add breadcrumbs and then milk. And the breadcrumbs are already starting to absorb that liquid. That's what you want. And then beaten egg. Now I've got some grated onion. I also added some grated garlic and a whole bunch of minced parsley. Then just salt and pepper. Very, very simple, very, very tasty. Basically, you just wanna smush and mush until everything looks like it's mixed and you don't see any ground beef that doesn't have the breadcrumbs and parsley mixed in. It's crazy the level of nervousness a football mom can get before a game. My gosh, I thought I was nervous when they were in Little League football, but Bryce is a junior, Todd is a freshman, and I just take on the stress every single Friday. Okay, that mixture looks fantastic, so I'll start forming the meatballs. I'm using a handy scoop. Just makes it easier to get all the meatballs the same size. And then just roll it back and forth until it's pretty round. Okay, that's one meatball. Now I'm gonna make 39 more. Okay, that's the meatballs. So now I've gotta wash my hands, take the rolls out of the oven, crank up the heat to 450, and I'll bake the meatballs for 25 minutes for the first stage. The first stage of the meatballs is over, and they look great. Basically, I've got the oven really hot because I want to replicate frying the meatballs in oil. So I've just got 2 jars of good marinara sauce, and I'm just pouring them over the meatballs. A lot of times when I make meatballs, I do it on the stove top in a big pan, but it's really a great oven meal. Oh, they smell so good already. So I'm gonna get them back into the oven for 10 more minutes. All right, the meatballs are all done. I let them cool. So while I cover them for the fridge, let me tell you what happens to them after the game. So first, I'll reheat them in the oven covered at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes. Then I'll take them out and remove the foil. They look so good. Then to make the first sub, I'll load a roll with 5 meatballs and sauce, top them with sliced onion, a sprinkle of torn basil, some grated Parmesan, and fill 8 subs in total.
Red velvet cupcakes. I'm gonna start with my dry ingredients, 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. I'm sifting this into the bowl because I wanna make sure there are no clumps in the mixture. My grandma had a little sifter that would kind of remind me of the Jack in the Box, and you just stand there and kink and kink. I don't know if it made that sound, but in my mind it made that sound. Now to this bowl, a teaspoon of baking soda, leavening agent, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Red velvet is actually a chocolate-based cake. So 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. Make sure that everything is incorporated. That looks great. Get started on my wet ingredients. To my mixer, I'm gonna add 1½ cups of granulated sugar, equal parts oil, so 1½ cups of canola, 2 tablespoons, red food coloring, because we really want that red to shine. I'm gonna use a teaspoon of vanilla extract, basically a capful. I love the flavor of vanilla, but it also intensifies the other ingredients in the cake. 2 teaspoons of distilled white vinegar. And if you have ever had Southern red velvet cake, it has a little tang to it. That's either because we have used distilled vinegar or buttermilk. And of course, it also helps soften up the cake. Last but not least, I'm gonna add the eggs to the mixing bowl. Look at this color. I mean, it's already very vibrant. You want red velvet cake? I'm gonna give you red velvet cake. All right, that looks good. Dry ingredients, haven't forgot about them. I'm gonna alternate between the dry ingredient and some buttermilk to make sure that everything is just really incorporated. So turn the speed on low, a little bit of dry, a little bit of buttermilk. As the red mixture with the eggs and the sugar is now mixing in with the chocolate, it's becoming this deep, rich red color. And that is the last bit of buttermilk. And just until the last bit of that buttermilk is incorporated, don't want to overmix. Get my cupcake pans. This mixture makes about 24 cupcakes. And I'm filling each about halfway, because of course, once it bakes, it's gonna rise. This is a really gorgeous red. Make sure there are no air bubbles. I have my oven set to 350. I'm gonna bake these for about 15 to 20 minutes. And in the meantime, I can prepare the football-inspired frosting. For this chocolate-based cream cheese frosting, I'm using 2 sticks of unsalted room temp butter, 2 8-ounce blocks of room temp cream cheese. I love a cream cheese frosting. It's a little tangy, it's a little sweet, and it's not too much. Mix this up a little bit to make sure that that's really nice and incorporated before I add in my other ingredients. That looks really good to me. I don't see any clumps of cream cheese. I don't see any clumps of butter. Yep, that's exactly what you know what? See? That's why you gotta take your spatula and kind of wipe it across, because there's a line of butter here. Not done yet. You need to mix it a little more. Gotta make this thing sweet. Add in 5 cups of powdered sugar. The consistency I'm looking for is fairly thick because it's going on a cupcake and I want to kind of shape it. Speed it up. 1 more cup. And I also want this to be a little thicker because I'm adding melted chocolate. See how it sits on that attachment? This is exactly the consistency I was looking for. Now, before I add any color to this, I'm gonna put a little to the side because this will be the frosting I'll use for the football stitching. A little more. And that should be enough. 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. And because I want a deeper chocolate color and I want it to resemble a football, I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons of melted dark chocolate. Mix that right in there. About a teaspoon of vanilla. A football to me is a reddish brown color. So drop of red food coloring. There you go. Football inspired frosting. And it's super thick. They're so pretty. Beautiful red velvet cupcakes. I'm gonna let them cool, and I can't wait till the guys see how cute they're gonna be. Oh my goodness, little cupcakes. I'm gonna take some of that chocolate cream cheese frosting, make it smooth. Take my white cream cheese, go down the center, and then 3 lines across. And got yourself a red velvet football cupcake. Touchdown! These are done. Gotta get them out to my family.
How does popcorn chicken sound? So before I cook the chicken itself, I'm making a dipping sauce, and it's basically a honey mustard, but it's with maple syrup instead of honey. So it's a mixture of mayonnaise, mustard, paprika, and maple syrup for sweetness. I'm gonna get a spoon.
So it's a maple mustard.
It is basically a maple mustard, which is great for this time of year. Okay, so that's the dipping sauce. Doesn't it look good? Come in
It
here,
looks
look at
nice
this.
and glossy.
Yeah, and it's not too thick, which I like. All right, so now it's about the chicken. So I'm using chicken breasts that I cut into pieces, and I'm basically gonna do a simplified breading assembly line. So salt and pepper to season the chicken really well, and I'll toss it around. I really think popcorn chicken, the name comes from the fact that when it's all done, sometimes there are little clusters of breading and it kind of looks like popcorn. Okay, so now to kind of do the first coating on the chicken, I'm adding some cornstarch, which always results in kind of a lighter breading or batter, and then 2 beaten eggs. And this just saves the step of having a dish of cornstarch, a dish of eggs, and a dish of the breadcrumbs. So you want to really toss the chicken around just to give the cornstarch a chance to kind of coat and dissolve and make that chicken super sticky. All right, so for that crispy, crunchy outer coating, I've got panko breadcrumbs, and I'm actually going to put half of the chicken in the crumbs and see how much I can bread at once. I didn't want to add all because that would be a gloopy mess. Just kind of plop the chicken onto the crumbs, and then I'm going to toss and kind of break them apart as I go so you don't wind up with like one big piece of popcorn chicken. Yum! Okay, I'm going to take a couple of crumbs and come look at the oil. This is my little trick for seeing if the crumbs are ready.
Oh, it's sizzling.
If they immediately kind of rise to the top and start sizzling, you're good to go. So, I'm gonna get some tongs, and I'll just grab like 3 nuggets at a time and just drop them in and make sure they don't stick together when I add them to the oil. All right, now I have my trusty spider, and I just move them around the pan. I don't want to slosh the oil out, so you got to be really careful. Little mom comment, if you have little kids, make sure any pans of hot oil are on the back burner so they don't hurt themselves. And then you just fry until the chicken is done and the coating is nice, deep golden. Now, this is obviously not the typical true tailgate food unless you are a serious tailgater and take like a deep fryer with you. But if you're just having a football watching party at your house, these are super easy to whip up. So, believe it or not, I think the chicken is ready to come out. All right, and then as soon as you get the popcorn chicken out of the oil, you want to sprinkle on the salt. Delicious. All right, I'm gonna let this hang out. I'm gonna bread the second batch and fry it just like this. Second batch turned out even better than the first batch, so give it its little sprinkling of salt. And I have a little dish for the maple mustard. I mean, what can you say? Popcorn chicken. It looks like popcorn, and it's easy to pop in your mouth. I've got 4 chicken breasts, and I'm just seasoning them really well with some taco seasoning and some chili powder. Makes them really spicy. I've got a skillet with some olive oil that I've been heating, and I'll just get the chicken in. Now, I'm just gonna cook the chicken for about 10 minutes total, turning it halfway through, and then I'll move forward with the delicious sauce. I'll just take it out and get it on the board. And I'm gonna make a sauce for the chicken right in the same skillet. I'll just pour in some water, probably 1.5 cups to 2 cups. And to help it along, I'll pour in just a little bit of tomato sauce. And then I'll just whisk this together and let this boil up and come together. I think shredded chicken is so great on nachos or in any Mexican food. Okay, the sauce looks amazing. It smells divine. So I'm just gonna plunk the chicken right into the sauce, and then I'll just simmer it for a few minutes. Then I'll let it cool, pop it in the fridge, and I'm gonna head into the parade. Getting that chicken ready will be a big time saver later. Now, I'm actually gonna do 2 versions of nachos, one for the boys and a more embellished one for the girls. They both start exactly the same. A pile of tortilla chips, and then a generous amount of grated cheddar jack cheese. After that comes a layer of the delicious chicken. Then I'll build 2 more layers just like that. Chips, cheese, chicken, and then I'll end with a final sprinkling of cheese. They go into the oven at 350 until the cheese is nice and melted. Now the boys will eat the nachos just as they are, but I like to add a few more delicious ingredients. Jarred jalapeños, chopped tomatoes, a sprinkling of black olives, sliced green onions, and a dollop of sour cream.
My loaded potato skins. Chicken skin is like chicken bacon. It adds so much flavor and crunch. And then I'm also gonna use the chicken fat to brush the potatoes and just add more flavor, and it'll help the potatoes get crispy. I'm gonna transfer the chicken skin to my paper towel. All right, I'm gonna get my potato skins out of the oven. I have some russet potatoes here that I've baked at 400 degrees for about an hour until they were soft. And then I scoop them out. I'm gonna grab a brush, and then I'm gonna brush the potato skins with this chicken fat left over in the pan. This is called schmaltz. It's delicious. So this is not only gonna help the potato skins get browned and crispy, it's also gonna add amazing flavor. I grew up eating potato skins whenever we would go out to eat, except when I was little, I only liked the innards, just the cheese and the bacon. I would scoop them out and leave behind the potato skins. These days, I appreciate the extra fiber. Okay, these potatoes are good and glossy. I'll stick them back in the oven now for a few minutes so that they can get extra crispy. And now I'll get going on my cheesy filling. I've got 2 kinds of cheeses, just for more depth of flavor and different textures. I'll start with my provolone, which will add melty, milky creaminess. And some white cheddar will give it really good flavor and saltiness. I also like adding some sliced olives, which will add that delicious brininess. And some sliced scallions. I'm gonna add the white parts now, and then I'll save the green parts to sprinkle on at the end. And I'll mix this up. This is so easy, and when you bite into them, they're so satisfying. I'm gonna get my potato skins out. Now, before I add the filling, I'm gonna season them with some salt and pepper. And like a nice deep boat, it'll hold a lot of filling. They're potato yachts. And I'll fill these up. And I'm really gonna mound them because the cheese will melt down. This is perfect. Okay, I'll continue on filling these. I'm gonna stick them under the broiler now for just a little bit so that they get ooey and gooey and melty. And while those bubble, I'll chop up my chicken skins. This is my favorite part, other than eating them. This is just gonna be a chicken skin fan show now. I'll chop these up into little bits. They'll be like big morsels of salty crunchiness. Let me get my sauces. I've got sour cream and sriracha. And I'm starting to smell those potatoes. I'm gonna check on them. I mean, these should be illegal. They are criminally delicious. I'm gonna transfer them to my serving plate. The potato skin is crackling beneath the tongs. And now I'll finish this with an abstract squiggle of sour cream to cool them down. And sriracha to spice them up. And my scallion greens will add a fresh crunch. And lastly, the star of the show, my crispy chicken skins. Oh, yes. How pretty are those? I don't think Nick is gonna notice if I taste one. Here I go. They are cheesy and crispy and chickeny, and they have that perfect amount of heat from the sriracha. Excuse me while I eat the rest of these.
So I've already fried a lot of pieces of bacon. took them out, and I didn't even drain the fat from the bacon. I just put the ground beef right in. And I'm just crumbling it to get it started. I'll crank up the heat, and I'm gonna season it with some seasoned salt and pepper. So what I love is that the ground beef is basically cooking in bacon grease, so the finished dip is just gonna have that bacon cheeseburger vibe everywhere you turn. All right, so this is gonna take me a few minutes. I wanna totally brown the beef, and I'm gonna use this spatula just to break it up as I go. Okay, the beef is totally browned. That didn't take too long. So I'm just gonna try to drain off as much of the fat as I can. There, that works. Okay, I'm gonna let this sit and cool for just a minute, and I'm gonna move forward with the dip. So I've got 2 blocks of softened cream cheese in this baking dish. All right, so the cream cheese is spread. I'm gonna sprinkle on a little bit of pepper just for fun. I have some freshly grated cheddar cheese. I'm gonna add half of it to the cream cheese. And then, you guessed it. Okay, so then I'm gonna add all the beef. And if there's a little bit of juice, that's good. No worries, you don't have to drain all the fat.
It's just extra flavor.
Oh, how does this look so far?
Amazing.
All right, now, this is kind of cool. Way to go,
It's ruining it.
I know.
Yes, ketchup.
Ketchup.
I'm on your side, Mom.
Thanks, Paige. You gotta have ketchup and mustard in your cheeseburgers, right?
Heck yeah.
This is an interesting piece of trivia. Lad never eats mustard unless it's on a bacon cheeseburger. He doesn't eat it on a regular cheeseburger. Worcestershire. And you can mix the ketchup, mustard, and Worcestershire with the ground beef if you want to, or if you just want to take the easy road, just do it all in the pan. And I'm going to add half of the bacon pieces. Yum, yum, yum. And then, you guessed it, the rest of the cheese. This is going to be incredible. Now, the dip is not the only aspect of this dish. Look at what I have over here.
Oh no. Oh,
fresh rolls. These are actually frozen dinner rolls, and I let them thaw and rise. And I have some garlic butter. It's just a mix of fresh garlic and butter that I melted in the microwave. So I'm gonna generously brush this butter on all the buns. Okay, so basically we're gonna turn these rolls into sort of hamburger buns. So I have some sesame seeds, and I'll just sprinkle sesame seeds on each of the rolls. The butter's gonna help them stick. And this is such a cute presentation. It's got a real hamburger vibe with the sesame seed buns. Alrighty, so let's go to the oven, Alex. So the cool thing is the dip and the rolls bake at the same time. So I'll put the dip in and the rolls, and both of them are gonna bake at 375 until the rolls are golden and the dip is bubbly. It's gonna take about 17 to 20 minutes. Okay, let's start with the rolls.
Oh my goodness.
How cute are these? And the dip.
Wow.
Check that out.
What?
Oh my. It's not gourmet. It's not fancy. But I want to dive into this pan right now. But I'm going to wait because I have a couple more little adornments. More ketchup, Alex. But just for fun, just a drizzle. My ketchup don't drizzle. Okay, mustard. And just a little bit. You don't want to have big globs of condiments on top. And then I'm basically going to make this like a deconstructed bacon cheeseburger. So I'll top with shredded lettuce. I don't want to totally cover up the dip though. And some diced tomatoes. You could do slices like you would on a burger if you prefer. Pickles.
Oh my
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
I love this. And then sprinkle on a whole bunch of the leftover bacon. I love it.
Avocado relish. So we're gonna use a California avocado that's nice and ripe. I take the bottom of my knife and I kind of turn it and I just push it off with my thumb. And this way you get right to the flesh of the avocado. Kind of make diamonds right in the shell. And then I can scoop it out with a spoon. I like my avocados, whether it's a guacamole or some kind of relish. I like to be chunky as opposed to pureed. All right, so how are we gonna flavor this? A little bit of red onion, jalapeños. I mean, I think that you have to be careful with the chilies. I like to have heat kind of all the way through it, but sort of a little bit as it kind of builds at each one of the components. And then some cilantro. For all the cilantro haters out there, try it again. That's what I keep saying. We're building cilantro love all over the country, little by little. If you don't like cilantro, obviously you can leave it out. You can put something like Italian parsley in it, but it's just not the same. And again, I like to coarsely chop this, not too fine, and then some fresh lime juice. So then I'm gonna take some black pepper and some salt, just with a fork. Just gonna mash the avocado. We're gonna keep it nice and chunky. And then remember those little tortillas that we had? Spicy, creamy, crispy.
Okay, I'm gonna move forward with lunch. I've got a big Mexican theme going, and to go with everything, I'm making chili con queso dip. I love chili con queso. It's technically a dip, and I'm gonna take some chips for the guys to eat it with, but it's also gonna be part of the whole spread. They can spoon it over the chicken, whatever it is on their plate. I love this stuff. I chopped up a large yellow onion and I've been browning it in just a little bit of vegetable oil. And I added a whole roll, a pound of breakfast sausage. It's hot sausage, and this is what sets the chili con queso apart from the regular stuff, which is usually just a cheese dip. This has meat in it, it's got some chilies. This stuff is very habit forming, so enter at your own risk. Okay, I've got the sausage all broken up. Now, the key ingredient in any chili con queso, of course, is cheese. And I use this stuff that needs no introduction at all. And I'm just gonna cut it up into big cubes. I have a lot of practice with this. My kids love this stuff, my husband loves it. I make chili con queso anytime there's a big football game going on. I'm just cutting this into big squares. And then this is gonna go right into the pan with the sausage. Now, I'll break up the cubes and just throw this right in. I'm gonna turn the heat to low. I don't want it to burn. That's the beauty of this stuff. It melts a lot more smoothly than any other cheese you can find. Okay, now I'll just stir this in and let it start to melt. Okay, and while it melts, I'll chop up a fresh jalapeno just to add some nice heat. I'll cut off the top and bottom, and I'll cut it into quarters. Now, so it's not too overwhelming spice-wise, I'll cut out the membranes and get rid of most of the seeds. You do want the queso to have a little bit of spice, but not too much. And then I'll just slice up the jalapeno and dice it up. Okay, the jalapenos are nice and finely diced. Now, the cheese is looking absolutely perfect. It's creamy and dreamy and divine, just what I expected it to be. Now, another essential ingredient to chili con queso is a can of tomatoes with diced chilies. And I put the juice in because that's where a lot of the flavor is. But this also gives the chili con queso great texture, nice bits of tomato and chili. I love the green chili component, so I also add another couple of cans of just diced green chilies. Of course, you can roast your own chilies, peel them, dice them, but this is so much easier. Okay, stir that around, and then for heat, I'll add the diced jalapenos. All right, I'll just make sure it's all stirred together. It looks absolutely wonderful. Great with chips, great with most anything.
I am going to let my shrimp sit in the buttermilk and then get started on my egg. Okay, so I have a little bit of salt and pepper that I'm adding to this bowl, which has some buttermilk in it. I have about a pound of Charleston white shrimp that I have peeled and deveined. Putting it in the buttermilk helps that coating adhere to the shrimp because, I mean, shrimp doesn't have skin on it, so it needs something to help it stick, and that's what that buttermilk does. Now, if you don't live in a coastal area like I do, you can always use frozen. Just make sure it's thawed. Make sure it's nice and coated with that buttermilk. I have 12 extra large hard-boiled eggs here. I'm gonna use a food processor to make my filling. So I'm just gonna dump the yolk in there, and then I have this cute little tray here that I'm gonna put each half on. All right, so for the rest of the ingredients in here, I have my egg yolk. I'm gonna add a little mayo, it's a really good mayo. A little yellow mustard. You gotta have that yellow mustard in there. A little sour cream, some sweet relish, a little salt, a pinch of my house seasoning. You don't wanna make it too salty. And some freshly cracked black pepper. All right, so I'm just gonna turn this on until it becomes smooth. I like putting my yolk mixture in the food processor because I pipe this out into each individual half, so it comes out really, really smooth. All right, so I have a jar here to help keep that nice and sturdy while I add my yolk. Yummy. I have a star tip on my piping bag. Hear my grandma and my mom talking right now. Don't you waste that, get all of that out of there. So I'm just piping this. So I'm starting off like that, kind of holding my bag not too tight because I don't want too much to come out at one time, and just gliding it up just like that. It's gonna be like the bed for my fried shrimp. Those look beautiful. Now I'm going to dredge and fry my shrimp. I'm gonna combine 1 cup of all-purpose flour, about a half a cup of yellow cornmeal, and that's gonna make it really crunchy. A little seafood seasoning, and a little extra pinch of salt. Mix it all together. Taking my shrimp that has been sitting in that buttermilk and just dredging, and I dredge the tail as well. All right, I have my oil heated to 350. I'm gonna fry these in batches until they're golden brown. This is gonna be my first batch. Now, shrimp does not take long to cook, 3 to 4 minutes. I have some neutral oil here, some canola oil. You can use vegetable if you'd like. I stick between canola and vegetable oil. Give that about 3 or 4 minutes. Ooh, these are pretty. All right, I believe these are done. Look how pretty they are. And let me tell you something, you'll know if you've overcooked shrimp if they get a really, really tight curl. I'm gonna build myself an egg. Oh, that's really good. It's delicious.
And I'm starting off right here on the grill. Of course, you could do this on the stove. I've melted some butter, and I'm gonna add to it a little bit of flour. So just making a light roux here. And you wanna let that flour cook for about 2 minutes. Let that flour taste come out of it.
It's like a fondue, no? Kinda?
Yeah, you could say that. It's kind of like a fondue.
Don't, you're wrong.
And then I grated garlic. And I'm putting that in there. I like to grate the garlic for this dip instead of mincing it because it disperses into the cheese dip more. And Dijon mustard. I always think with pretzels, they need a little bit of mustard. Yeah. And the Dijon will actually kind of help thicken up this cheese a bit. And now I'm gonna add to it my beer. So I'm using a lager. You can really use any kind of full flavor beer that you like. This is not a time for light beer. And whisk it in.
You don't use it all, you know where to slide it. We keep on talking about like college. I always say the military was my college, but I went to Loyola, but I was so old that I wasn't into the party scene.
No, you're like,
I don't know what those kids were doing.
They're like Professor Anderson, you're like, I'm a student.
Exactly.
And now I'm gonna add in some grated sharp cheddar cheese.
Sharp cheddar.
And just let that, start to simmer, let it melt. And then at the very end, I'm gonna add just a splash of heavy cream.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
This just helps the whole thing come together.
Oh, I like your splash.
That was like a triple splash.
Yeah.
And let it get nice and rich and thick and creamy. Whisk it up.
Oh, man.
That looks
I mean, you
good.
gotta have the double dipper for soft pretzels. Cheese base,
Yeah.
We got a bowl over here.
Season it
mustard
with
base,
some
you know?
salt.
Yeah, you do.
I'm gonna pep you up.
Pepper me up. Give me a little pep. Okay, pass me my bowl.
It's the bowl.
What other things would you dip a pretzel into?
You
Got
can go
mustard,
sweet
cheese.
too. You can go like an icing, like
Oh,
a cinnamon
yeah.
icing kind of
True,
deal.
true. You can
Delish.
do
I
some
like
cinnamon
mayonnaise,
sugar over
too.
the
Yeah.
top.
All right,
come
give
on.
it a taste. Let me know what
Okay.
you think.
There you go. We are the soft pretzel connoisseurs here.
I am from
that
the break off the salt faction for America.
I'll see, I'm
this-
extra salt.
I love.
like
There
it
can't be
all.
enough salt. I have salt dipper next to it. I love that salt.
That is
Lick it.
good.
Wow.
Wow.
What I get?
Wow.
The pepper.
Garlic.
The garlic. Yeah.
The cheese.
It comes. Well, it's a cheese sauce.
Oh, sorry.
So different, both so satisfying, right?
That
Lot of
is so
garlic,
like,
right?
in a weird way, over savory, which is so awesome. That garlic really does some work.
I am going to make a lightened up version of nachos. So I've got 6 corn tortillas and I just cut them into very small little wedges. And I'm gonna put them into a bowl, kind of break them apart, and then just spray them with olive oil cooking spray. This is the best way to kind of get a really light coating of oil on the tortillas. So after the oil, I'm gonna season the tortillas. It's ranch dressing mix, ranch seasoning.
Wow.
So then I have a well-oiled baking sheet and I'll sprinkle the chips on the sheet and spread them out into a single layer. And these are gonna be baked because normal nachos are made with tortilla chips, which are unapologetically fried, and that's why they're so darn amazing. But that doesn't mean that these won't be amazing too. They'll just be kind of a different kind of amazing. Okay, so let's go put these in the oven, Alex. So I've got the oven on 425 degrees, and I'm gonna put these in for 10 minutes, and I'm gonna stir them halfway just to make sure they're getting evenly crisped. All right, Alex, look at the chips.
Wow, they look like real chips.
They do, and they taste like real chips covered in ranch seasoning, that is. So I let the chips cool slightly, and I'm gonna top them and turn them into nachos. So I've got some canned corn. I drained it really well so it wouldn't be very liquidy. These are basically just loaded nachos. You wanna make this for like a football watching party or just like a Wednesday night. Whatever's more appropriate.
Sounds more my speed.
Black beans, and I drained them and rinsed them and made sure to drain off most of the liquid. And now these nachos do have cheese because you basically can't make nachos without cheese, but not very much. For me, this is like a drop in the bucket of the amount of cheese I usually use for nachos, but it's pepper jack, which means it's a little bit more flavorful than a lot of cheeses. And it's really creamy, and if you don't just completely cover everything with cheese, you can celebrate the ingredients that are underneath. So I've also got some jarred jalapeños, and then these go back into the oven just long enough for the cheese to melt. So let's get them in there. Yum. Okay, that's not gonna take long, so let's go over here. And you've got to have some kind of salsa to serve with nachos. So I'm gonna make just a really simple avocado salsa. So I've got finely chopped tomatoes and finely chopped red onion.
Yum.
And then lots of lime juice. It reminds me, pico de gallo is something that I've got to start making more and more. I used to make it all the time. It used to be a condiment in our house.
Yeah, you used to make pico a lot.
All the time, and it just kind of fell off my radar. Poor lad. I'm sure he wakes up some nights thinking, where did the pico de gallo go? Little bit of cumin, a little bit of salt and pepper. And then what is something that all pico de gallo or salsa has to have?
Cilantro.
Cilantro and a lot. Whenever I started kind of making salsa and pico de gallo, it took me a long time to realize you basically have to add as much cilantro as you have tomatoes and other ingredients. Okay, so in goes the cilantro. And then this is avocado salsa, so I'm gonna add some chopped avocado. It's just barely ripe, so it's not mushy and like fall apart guacamole avocado. Okay, so that's the salsa. I'll bet the cheese has melted on the nachos.
It's where the magic happens.
It sure enough is, Alex. Let's look.
Wow.
Oh, hi.
Yummy.
I mean, gosh. So you can serve these nachos just right on the sheet pan, which is what I'm gonna do, but you can also serve it with the salsa on the side, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna sprinkle the salsa all over the nachos. By no means am I saying you could eat a whole pan of these and consider it light, but these are definitely lighter than the normal nachos we see around these parts, let me tell you.
True. Mine would have probably like 4 times the cheese.
I know, exactly. You are your mother's daughter. Okay, lightened up nachos, guys.
Cornmeal-fried onion rings. So I'm starting with Spanish onions. I actually like Spanish onions because I think they're a little sweeter. And of course, since they're bigger, they're easier to cut up. And I'm just gonna separate all the rings. Well, that was one big onion. I think I just need one. So now I need 2 cups of buttermilk, and you wanna shake it up. Just pour it right over. What this is gonna do is create the batter. Since onion rings are all about the batter. 1½ teaspoons of salt. I think maybe a whole teaspoon of pepper. Gotta have lots of flavor. And then clean hands. Just mix them up together. Really messy. Now I'm gonna heat up some oil. I've got a quart of vegetable oil in a big pot. And I actually find it's so much easier to do in a big pot. And you don't get like oil spraying all over the place. Hot oil, not good. And I'm gonna use a candy thermometer, which is just attached to the side. Okay, now for the cornmeal crust. I've actually been experimenting with this. I think it's so delicious because the flour makes the crust, but the cornmeal makes it crunchy. Love that. So 1½ cups of flour, 1/4 cup of cornmeal. I like to use stone ground yellow cornmeal, but any kind of cornmeal you can find in the grocery store is fine. Teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and just mix it all up with your hands. If these come out as half as good as I think they are, they're gonna be a winner. Time to fry the onion rings. And just drain them just a little, put them in the flour and cornmeal to coat them. That's what makes the batter. Okay, and the oil is up to temperature, 350 degrees. Now I'm just gonna drop them in really carefully. And the really great thing about these onion rings is you can make them in advance and keep them warm in the oven for about ½ an hour, so you don't have to cook them just before everybody's there. Just gonna turn them. The whole thing happens like 2 minutes. This one happened really fast. Just take them out when they're nice and golden brown. These are gonna be fantastic. Okay, into the oven. I'm gonna keep them warm at 200 degrees for up to about 30 minutes, and then TR and I can taste them when he gets back from shopping.
So I put some ground beef in a bowl and I just pressed in a clove of garlic for extra flavor. And then for more flavor, just a couple dashes of Worcestershire. I'm also adding salt and pepper. That is a pretty simple mixture. Okay, that's all mixed together. So I'm gonna pinch about 1/6 of the mixture and I'll just make a little miniature patty. And I'll just kind of form it in a pretty thick patty. It's pretty much a meatball that's been flattened a little bit. I cooked 4 slices and it's just perfect. Not too crisp and not too chewy. Now I'm gonna add the patties to the skillet. Okay, now I just have to let these cook. They'll take about 5 minutes on the first side, so you just have to be patient. Okay, the patties are looking good. It's just time to flip them over so they can cook on the second side. I'm gonna put cute little squares of cheddar cheese on each one. I'm actually doubling up and doing 2 pieces. They're pretty thin, and these are bacon cheeseburger bites after all, so I wanna make good on that promise. The patties aren't gonna take too long to cook through, so I'm gonna put the lid on, and that'll help the cheese melt. Hallie's gonna be here any second, so I'm gonna start pulling together the burger bites. The cheese is perfectly melted. It pretty much just enveloped the whole burger bite. It's leaving a little bit behind in the skillet, but most of it is on the burger bite, and that's exactly what I want.
One of the things I love to eat during tailgating is chicken wings. I like all kinds of flavors. Today we're gonna make it quick and easy. Carolina barbecue sauce. We're gonna do a tequila and lime, and we're gonna do a really dynamite Asian. Now, how do we make this easy? Well, you take the frozen chicken wings that you get at the store, pop them in the oven, and cook them at home. Cool them down, and then bring them with you come game time. Now, all I'm gonna need to do with these is throw these bad boys on the grill, heat them up, and when they're done, drop them into the sauce of choice. So I've got my wings ready, time to make the sauces. Now the first one we're gonna work on is gonna be the Asian. These resealable bags work perfect. I like to get the freezer version because they're a lot sturdier. To start off with a little bit of soy sauce and some honey, some lime juice. Roll that lime out, make sure you get all the juice from it. Some orange juice. You wanna see an orange juice press. Fresh grated ginger, chili garlic sauce for a little bit of heat, a little sesame oil, just a touch, oregano, a little cumin, a touch of cayenne, a little granulated garlic, last but not least, some oyster sauce. Kind of mix this all up together. Now it's time to make the delicious tequila lime. Some lime juice. Fresh is better. Some tequila, some agave nectar for a little sweetness, a little lime zest, and the real lime flavor comes out of the zest. A little cumin, chipotle peppers, smoked jalapeno peppers that sit in a sauce called adobo, which is kind of a spicy tomato sauce. Just a touch of that. A little black pepper, a touch of salt. Dynamite flavors. With that agave syrup on there, it's gonna be delicious. Now we're gonna make one of my favorites, the Carolina barbecue sauce. A little bit of sweetness and a lot of vinegar. Start this off with some ketchup, some red wine vinegar, a little red chili flake, some chipotle sauce for the adobo, a little dried mustard, some granulated garlic, just a little bit of sugar. And a little mix, made ahead of time, Carolina barbecue sauce, the tequila lime, and the Asian. So with these all made at home and wings in hand, all you need is a hot grill and you're on. So check that out. Now reheated and these are ready to go. Good stuff. Now for those great sauces that we made ahead of time. Here's the Asian. About a third of these wings are gonna go in here. Take a look at that. Look at all that flavor. The tequila lime with a little bit of that chipotle. You should smell this. Now the Carolina barbecue. So there we go.
So I started out by frying some bacon, and I took it out of the skillet. I cut the bacon into pieces before I fried it. Okay, you wanna try it? See if it's done?
Make sure it's good.
Make sure it's not poisonous.
Clear.
Good? Okay, so I'm gonna add some diced red onion, and without cleaning the pan. Now, if you want to drain off some of the grease, you can, but you don't have to.
Oh.
You can add the jalapenos, and look how many.
Oh my gosh.
Fresh jalapenos. I scraped out most of the seeds just so it wouldn't be overwhelming, but I think it takes a lot for you and me to find jalapenos overwhelming.
I agree.
Garlic, please.
In.
So scrape that in there. We're just gonna cook the beef, and we're gonna take turns crumbling it. Here, your turn.
I'm next.
It'll take about 7 or 8 minutes for it to brown. You do the salt, I'll do the pepper. Okay, so we have a few more things to add. So tomato paste.
How much?
Just a big old squirt. Just
Squirt.
go right in the bottom of the pan.
That's good.
That's good.
Okay, and then we can add some of the grainy mustard. How do you feel about mustard?
I love mustard.
Don't burn yourself. This is a hot stove.
Mm-mm-mm.
And then
Smells delicious.
all of the beef broth, please.
All of it.
Grab that macaroni. And I know you're not a pasta fan, but you're a macaroni fan.
I love macaroni.
Okay, pour that right on in. And this kind of recipe is a revelation because you don't have to have a separate pot to cook the noodles in, right?
I love that. Easy,
and then
less dishes.
Worcestershire,
So
please.
interesting.
I know, it's gonna be good. So just
How much?
add 3.7 dashes.
1.7.
2, 3.
2, 3.
Good. Okay, I think we're good. So now we're gonna turn it down to a simmer.
Okay.
Put the lid on the pot and see what happens in 10 minutes.
I'm excited. Let's
I'm
see
gonna
it.
let you do the honors. Lift that up carefully. It's hot.
Ooh.
What does it look like?
Look at that.
You can put that right over here. So grab that
Right.
cheese. Now save a little back so we can decorate the top,
Okay.
but add most of it. So this is grated like cheddar.
Oh.
That's fine here. But you can also do like a little bit of processed cheese or Monterey Jack jalapenos.
Oh,
So we
come
got
on.
fresh jalapenos and jarred jalapenos, okay? In
I
they go.
love jalapenos.
And then I kind of knew that about you, actually. Some parsley, a little more pepper. We're not done yet.
What's next?
Bacon.
Oh,
So this is
Stop
like
it.
bacon cheeseburger mac. And it's good to sprinkle, it's good to sprinkle with your hands because then it doesn't all go in the same place. And then Mauricio, a little bit of cheese.
More cheese?
Yep.
Plop.
Well, it's good to sprinkle it so that it doesn't all go in one place. And then
on,
sprinkle
Mauricio.
sprinkle the parsley.
You need more flair.
Now this is what you call an easy, simple weeknight dinner.
Oh my.
This was special. Oh my
Look at all that
gosh, you found the
cheese.
cheese bite for sure. Here, give me some of that.
How is it?
Good.
That's really good.
I use just not impressive at all, but very handy pizza dough that comes in a roll, sold in the refrigerated section. We all know what I'm talking about. And I am going to assemble one of the pigs in the blanket. So it starts with a little bit of marinara sauce, and then a little piece of mozzarella cheese. So then a little pinch of crushed red pepper flakes, just to give it a little spice. A pepperoni, which is Todd Drummond's favorite snack in the world. And then one of these little breakfast sausages. Put it right in the center. And then this is gonna get a little bit messy before it's all said and done, but the messiest recipes are the tastiest recipes. Who said that? Socrates? So I'm gonna put it onto the pan and then watch what happens, Paige. Then I'm gonna brush the top with just an egg wash, which is just egg with a little bit of water. And then I have this mixture of Parmesan cheese and Italian seasoning, and I'll just sprinkle a little bit on top just for a little crust. I'm gonna do the exact same thing to the rest of the squares of dough. Okay, let's get these in the oven. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna bake these at 425 degrees for 15 minutes until they're golden. They're gonna be so good. Feel free to gather around.
Oh my gosh.
Feel free
Looks
to.
so good.
How good do, go ahead. How good do they look? Okay, they look amazing, look.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, just perfect.
Oh, close-up action.
I've got a little dish of, they're very cheesy, and some of the cheese kind of oozes out, and that is just okay. It's nice to kind of see a little hint of what's inside. Okay, I'm gonna keep working and get the rest of these on the platter. Guys. Pizza pigs in the blanket. I've got a little dish of marinara sauce. I'm gonna taste one, ready?
So graceful.
I've got some leeks that I'm going to be sauteing here in a second with some cremini mushrooms, but I'll show you this little leek technique. Remember, when the leek grows, it's growing up like this, so the opportunity for sand and dirt and everything to fall down into those crevices is really happening. So what we want to do is I cut mine. Makes it a little bit easier to clean. And then I'll just give them a quick little chop, drop them into the water. I can swirl them around with my hand and just kind of wash them like that, or rinse them, I should say. Some people leave the rounds together, but what I find is that if the rounds don't get completely broken apart, you have a chance of getting yourself some sand and some dirt into it. So this is all gonna come together. Well, I'll just do it with my hand. This is all gonna come together for a fantastic stuffed potato skin. And actually, I gotta drop some of the potato skin, so let this settle down here for a second. Some baked potatoes, just left with about a 1/4 inch interior right there. Salted them before I roasted them. And we'll drop them in 350-degree oil. And yes, I want these to almost get like a hollowed out French fry, okay? Almost potato chip-like, because we're gonna be throwing in some brie cheese, prosciutto, and some mushrooms and all that. Drop these in. Set this aside. Creminis, my favorite. I'm telling you, one of my favorite mushrooms. I can't say it's absolutely my favorite, but it definitely is one of the best. Really nice and meaty. Lots of really defined mushroom flavor. And we're gonna cook these down with these leeks. It'll work out perfect. Okay. Bring it right over. Drop these in, and you know what this needs here is just a little touch of thyme. I got some fresh thyme standing by. That's all gonna cook down together. Throw a little more heat on it, and all the thyme comes out together, and just the leaves of the thyme, okay? I know this seems a little bit more refined than you're thinking game day food. Now, the skins, like I said, you have leftover potatoes. What are you gonna do with them? Well, we're gonna put a little bit of mushroom mixture in there with the leeks, okay? So we'll crumble a little brie in there. And then what would be the next thought? Okay, yeah, prosciutto. There's gonna be some Italian cold cuts for sure. So look at this. There you go. Some nice prosciutto, thinly sliced. We'll just tear off a few pieces, lay it right up on top. That'll get nice and crusty, kind of like bacon. So I'll knock these out, fill them up, pop them in the oven, let them melt one more time. Ho-ho, coming over hot. Look at those bad boys, huh? That's potato skins like you've never seen before. Cook these potatoes, scooped them out, deep fried them, filled them with some cremini mushrooms and some leeks, then a little brie, of course. But look at this, mushrooms, brie, prosciutto.
I grilled 2 ears of corn, and I just finished slicing the kernels off of the second ear. And I'm gonna get the kernels into a bowl. So that's the corn, and now I'll make the dip base, which is really creamy, rich, and flavorful. I'm using a little food processor, and I have some cream cheese along with sour cream. See if I can fit this into this little food processor. And some lime juice, just to give it some zip and interest. And 3 different spices, some cumin, not too much of anything, paprika, and cayenne, which is really nice. It gives the corn dip some nice spice. I'm also gonna add some hot sauce, which adds heat, but it also gives it some extra flavor. Salt and pepper, of course, and a pile of green onions. Talk about flavor. And then I'll get the lid on and mix this together, and then I have some more things to add. So far, so good. Now I'm really gonna up the game here. I have 3 different cheeses. So I just added Monterey Jack queso fresco that's crumbled, and cheddar. And now I'm gonna let the teeny tiny food processor do all the work. Okay, I think that looks great. This dip has great texture, and you don't have to overmix it. If it's a little bit lumpy and you can see little shards of grated cheese, then even better. So I will scrape this magnificent, cheesy, creamy, spicy mixture into the corn. This is such an amazing dip. Okay, got my little serving bowl. Delicious. And then I'll garnish with whatever I have left on the board. Some more queso fresco, a little green onion, and some cheddar cheese. Oh, okay, that is the corn dip. It looks so good. I'm putting the roasted corn dip right in the center. I've got chips, veggies, peppers, pickles. Oh, it's so pretty. So this is dip number 2. It's green goddess dressing, and the processor does all the work. I threw in half a cup each of fresh parsley leaves, fresh dill, and sliced chives. Then I added a tablespoon of tarragon, the juice and zest of a lemon, a minced garlic clove, some salt and pepper, 2 medium diced avocados, a cup of mayonnaise, and a cup of sour cream. I turned on the processor, kept going until it was deliciously smooth, then tipped it into a bowl, making sure to get every last out of this world drop. Okay, and then this is dip number 3. I think I saved the best for last. It looks simple, but boy, is it incredible. This one is whipped feta. All I needed was my processor, a cup of Greek yogurt, a cup of crumbled feta, 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, and a splash of heavy cream. I processed it until it was smooth and creamy and scraped it into a bowl, disciplining myself not to eat it. Then just garnished it with some dill sprigs. You seriously have to try this.
So this is my Upstate-Style roast beef sandwich. First things first, get the oven on like 450. We'll work with that later, but just want to get that preheated. And I am taking, you know what this is, Jeff? Come on, Mr.
Chucky.
Uh-huh.
It's a sirloin.
It's a eye of the round, top
eye
round.
of round.
So we need some spices for this, and all these are dry spices. This is what's really the key to this. It should be dry spices, not fresh herbs, okay? We're just gonna put some meat glue or Dijon mustard on, so so it just adheres. So just get this room temperature, remember, so it roasts evenly. You know, that's secret.
Why are you departing from the Zakarian credo of fresh herbs and going dry here?
It's what they do, and it's so good. I like, why mess with it with fresh
Maybe
herbs?
the texture, right? It's it's like a rub.
You're not gonna taste really the mustard. It just really helps get everything adhered. So we're doing oregano, parsley, dried parsley. You can put dried thyme. I'm just getting, whatever I add in the box, I like.
This would be good use of the dried Italian seasoning with like
all that together.
All the herbs.
It's a great idea, Jeff.
I know.
So there's some sage, oregano, and you can use Mexican oregano. I like Mexican oregano. Do you use that? I think
Love it. Floral.
it's really very floral. And then we are gonna salt it like there's no tomorrow.
So your seasoning, I mean, clearly on all sides.
Yes.
Critical.
Critical. A good amount of pepper, but we're gonna put a ton of pepper in the sauce, which is really the best part of this is, I think, the sauce and that thing right there, which I'm gonna show you about. All right, so, again, this is a big hunk of meat. My oven is on 450. We're gonna start it out high, and then we're gonna drop it down for about 20 minutes to 300 and let it get to an internal temperature. People ask me how long, how many pounds per minute, and I'm like, I don't go like that. It's just, I can't think like that. We're looking for an internal temp of 110 to 115. Bring it out and let it actually get cold and rest. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, Jeff.
Yes.
Let's put this in here. A piece of rosemary. I don't know if Charlie put rosemary on that, Charlie the butcher, but I'm doing it anyways. I like it. Some Worcestershire sauce. Some soy sauce.
So all that's just gonna mix with those meat drippings
Oh,
and get
you got it,
super
Katie.
delicious.
And some beef juice. This is where, I would say, forget the vegetable stock or chicken stock. You need beef stock for this one.
Yes.
All right. You ready? So I brought this out, and I'm resting it until it gets room
Look at
temperature or
that.
cold. So this is just, it's chilled, but we're gonna slice it in a minute. First, we have to make the sauce.
Oh, it
Ready for the
smells
sauce?
so beefy in here right now.
So if you're going to the game, you can make this, put it in your cooler, bring it, slice it up, and make your sandwiches.
Yes. So we have now some sour cream, some cider vinegar, a boatload of horseradish. Really important that it has nose feel, because this is it's dense meat, and you really want to
nose heat.
Is that a culinary term?
No, I just made
Nose
that up.
feel?
It sounds like you just made it up. Sounds like something I would say.
And again, a good amount of pepper. This is really very important that this is spicy and peppery, because this is a relatively fat-free piece of meat. And you need this to sort of
Oh,
give it
good.
some
I can
taste.
have double then.
free.
That's free.
Sign me
Except
up.
for the butter.
Give
on
me
top.
extra sauce in that case.
All right, here's our, just smelling it makes me go crazy. All right, that's done. But then the beef, the weck, this is the roll. It's a soft roll, right? It's sort of like very airy, almost brioche-like.
Kaiser-like.
Kaiser Sosa roll.
There's
Jeffrey,
no Kaiser
what does
Sose rolls
unwet
here.
mean?
On
My
weck.
favorite.
It's just a
Favorite
roll.
baseball player.
The beef on weck, and I'm gonna make it right now, all right? A lot of melted butter.
Well, the full name for the roll is a Kummelweck roll.
Yes, Kemmelweck. So, caraway seeds, a good amount of them on top. You're just gonna pop this in the oven for 5 or 6 minutes just so it just sets, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then a lot of salt, again, but salt that
Coarse.
doesn't, Coarse
Coarse
salt.
salt.
Or sanding salt, right? What do they call that? Sanding salt?
Sure. Well, it's sandy sugar, but we're making
You know,
up a
when you
lot of
put it on
things.
an apple tart,
Like
sanding
flaky
sugar.
sea salt would be good, right? Like
Yeah, but this is really chunky. You want this to get in your teeth.
Coarse salt, right?
Yeah. Just set it, right? And forget it 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Just set it. That's all you want.
trust you.
Are you ready to have a Sandy?
I'm ready. I sat in the right seat today.
Yes, you did. Okay.
Sauce, meat, bread.
Yes.
Done. Classic.
Okay, so we need sauce. So, Jeff, I like to put the sauce on the bottom.
And why is
It is
that?
controversial, but in this application, because I know you're gonna put
Yeah.
some more of the drippings on the top, right?
And here's what I like to do also, some shaved onion, but very, very, very finely shaved.
And
That's
a
like a
yellow or
deli
white
slicer.
onion. Ooh.
Yeah, right. A little more, just, I know you like onions, Katie.
Man, I tell you what, I'm gonna be tasting this all day long.
Yeah,
I
you
can
will.
already
Just
tell
when you
starting the
think that,
day
yeah.
off.
Yep.
Slice it here, so you can
Oh,
see.
I want that little end piece.
This is a good time if you have a gas-powered deli slicer at the tailgate to rip it up.
Oh, I got an amuse-bouche.
Can you see that? So, you see how nicely it's cooked all the way through? Mm-hmm. That's when you rest it, when you make sure that you start at room temperature. Oh.
And you need a really sharp knife to get those
So I'm gonna
nice
put a little, I
thin-
have this is the secret sauce that came off the pan, and we just strained it and put it in here. It's everything that, the mustard, the oregano, sage.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
gonna drop it in here.
Just a quick dip, right?
It's a little dip in the swimming pool.
That's it.
A quick dip. You know, no shampoo. We're not shampooing our hair today.
Wow.
Okay, Katie.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna
Double sauce application, top, bottom. Whoa.
This is gonna clear my sinuses.
Breaking all the rules today, this guy.
Katie, you changed your whole body like she hunched down.
She did the bite. She wore the sandwich sweater, so she get.
Oh. My God.
Okay, that's really the first thing I had when I got to Buffalo. Even before I got to the future in-laws house.
That's unbelievable. Okay, first of all, the bun is so soft and having that salt and the caraway seeds.
So I started sauteing some onions in a little bit of vegetable oil, and I'm adding some ground beef. And instead of forming them into individual patties like you would normally see sliders, I'm going to cook all the ground beef together, crumbling it as I go. Okay, so I'm just gonna cook this for about 4 minutes until the beef is totally brown. All right, the ground beef is pretty much brown, so I'm going to add some Worcestershire sauce, just to make things a little more interesting. I'm gonna add some more pepper. I want the ground beef to be super flavorful, and you can actually doctor this up with hot sauce. You can add like a little bit of barbecue sauce to the meat if you like that kind of thing. All right, so I'm gonna turn the meat off, and I'm going to make a little sauce for the sliders. So what's your favorite condiment for burgers?
Mayo, ketchup, and mustard.
Well, you're in luck, Mauricio, because I am making a mixture of mayo, ketchup, and mustard. Not gonna put it on separately. I'm just gonna stir it all together. And again, you can have some fun with this. You can add hot sauce, barbecue sauce. Okay, so look at this. It's called muscanaise. So these are slider rolls, and they come all stuck together in a package. I cut them through the middle, put them on the pan, and I toasted them in the oven just until they were starting to get brown. So watch this. All of the sauce goes on. It looks like a lot, but it's really not as much as you think. And then you want to spread it so it really gets out to the edges. These are cheeseburger sliders, so I've got some grated cheddar jack, and I'm gonna add half of it right on top of the sauce. And then I'm gonna add the ground beef. It's just like one big sandwich, and then I'm gonna bake it and cut it into individual sliders. And it's really packed on here, you guys.
That's the way I like my sliders, nice and beefy.
That's right. Same. All right, so basically you want to spread the ground beef just kind of so it's on an even layer and it goes out to the edges. And then the rest of the cheese goes on. And then my favorite part, which isn't that revolutionary, it's just my favorite part. Pickles!
Yes.
And
I love
yes, and what I like to do is just do a slice kind of over each section. Okay, so then, as you can imagine, the top goes on, and I'm gonna give it a little bit of a press, and then I have some olive oil, and I wanna show you what I'm gonna do to the tops of the buns. I am not content just to put naked buns in the oven. I have to doctor them up. Naked buns are not my thing. Everything bagel seasoning.
Oh.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
It just kind of gives the buns a little bit of interest. All right, let's put them into the oven, Alex. Come along. 375 degrees, just until the cheese melts and everything is piping hot, and then we'll dive in. Ooh, ooh.
Oh my goodness.
The tops of the rolls got a little toasty. I love it because they kind of look like pretzels almost. They kind of got that pretzel-y color about them. So then all you have to do is just kind of very casually run a knife through and just cut off however many sliders you want.
Now this is my last one. I'm doing these jalapeno peppers. They're gonna be going to a stuffed jalapeno pepper. Now I'm gonna do it with sausage and 3 different cheeses. The ribs are actually the hottest part of this, but I'm making like a little boat inside of this. Now check that out, okay? Now I'm using the big jalapenos, and I'm throwing them on this roasting pan, and what I'm gonna do is pop them in the oven for like 5 or 10 minutes and let a little pre-cook go on these. Because if I put the sausage and cheese mixture in there, by the time these jalapenos cook to where they're kind of nice and sweet and roasted, it's gonna be forever. I'm using a different variety of cheeses here. I got some mozzarella, of course, Italian, you got me. A little mascarpone, that's the interesting one, and a little Parmesan. If you don't have mascarpone, you can go cream cheese. But I like the mascarpone because we got some peppers here. They're gonna be kind of spicy, yeah. And the mascarpone has a little bit of sweetness to it, so the sweetness of the mascarpone will go along well. So that in a big bowl. Let me see if I'm ready here yet. I'm really about keeping that pan not quite hot enough. You see how it's not giving me a big shh, cranking the heat all the way, but we'll just wait a second. Let's get the mozzarella down. Now the mozzarella, these cheeses will get mixed together. After I cook this sausage with some red bell pepper and some of the onion, what's gonna happen is we'll let it cool and then we'll mix it together to stuff the peppers. A little bit of Parmesan. That's good. It's about 2 to 1 on the mascarpone to everything else. Now you see a lot of times mascarpone being used in what? Yeah, tiramisu, one of my favorite. You know, I don't have a lot of desserts that I enjoy, but that's really my favorite with the lady fingers. Ah, it's great. Now you see it's a little bit hard, so I'm gonna give it a chance, move it around a bit, just bringing it out of the fridge and just give it a chance to soften up so when I mix it all together. And then I've got this sweet Italian sausage, which I've got some red bell peppers and some garlic and some onions. Cook that down. Now this is kind of about room temperature. The reason is I want to cool it down. Don't want to melt the cheese putting hot sausage in it. And I also don't want to put this hot mixture into these peppers. So I kind of mix this around a little bit. I kept all the cheeses out to kind of let them soften up so I can move them together a little bit easier. Okay. So you get this mixed together. Now grab one of these peppers. Now these peppers, like I said, I popped them in the oven for about 10 minutes to soften them up, also to make them so, you know, it's not so crunchy when you bite into it. By the time this mixture gets hot, because the cheese is gonna melt real quick, sausage is already cooked, so by the time it gets hot, it won't have enough time to cook the pepper. So kind of mold it in like that, not too much cheese, don't want it flowing over and burning on the pan. Kind of a nice little mold like that. So there you go, bunch of them to fill. Little tedious to stuff all these the whole time, but well worth it, especially when you're doing something like poker night. Take a look at them. I'm just gonna put them in. Now what's gonna happen is I've got the oven at 350, but now I'm gonna turn it to broil. Keep it a little bit off of the broiler. If I put it right up underneath there, boom, I'm gonna burn. So I want this to cook it all the way through, or gotta warm it all the way through, but put a nice crust on it. So we'll hit it up to, I think medium broil should work. These jalapeno poppers, look at them. I mean, this is the way they're supposed to be done.
Just 1 egg, there's some vanilla extract and some salt, whisk it all together in the bowl. I've got a stick of butter in my stand mixer here. Just gonna hit it. This is the creaming part, right?
Yeah.
You wanna get the actual cookie butter in. Now, if you don't know what cookie butter is, AKA speculoos, it's going to remind you of a gingerbread cookie with lots of sweet cinnamon and warm spice, notes to it. Funny story, I bought some cookie butter cookies one time from a company, and I don't know, for some reason at the time, I couldn't have them delivered to my house. So I had them delivered to my friend's house. She likes them too, and I said, yeah, you can have a box. I literally didn't get any of them. She ate them all. Some brown sugar, some granulated sugar, okay? I'm gonna bring that down and mix it up. Well, the goal here is to really get cream going. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of grains going on with the granulated sugar, the brown sugar. So we just want everything to be nice and smooth. It's gonna get a little bit lighter in color because the air is getting whipped into it. And so instead of being that deep brown color the speculoos was, it's gonna get this nice light color. And then I'll put it back in there.
So important, scraping the sides while you're creaming, too.
It really, really is. Bring it all together.
And Sunny, I noticed that stick of butter was very room temperature.
Super room temperature. All right, so to this, we're gonna add that egg. Thank you. The vanilla extract. That little pinch of salt. Remember to turn down your mixer to as low as possible. Add the flour in, okay?
Oh.
Now that's gonna blend up. When that blends up, you're gonna get it into a plastic bag, plastic wrap, put it into the refrigerator, and then you're gonna bring it out and roll it up. But look, I've already got it rolled up right here. Just like this. Thank you, Alex.
I love cookies.
You're gonna roll it out just like, sugar cookies. And then get your actual cookie forms.
Oh, you got a little jersey?
Little jersey right here. Then we've got a football, and everyone loves that. We're number one.
Yeah.
We're number one. So that finger, you can get these at the party store, at the grocery store, in the baking aisle. I've got the oven set to 350 degrees. It's only gonna take 10 to 12 minutes for these to bake. Get them in there.
Smells so good. You
I
can
love
smell that.
cookies.
The cookie in the cookie.
Nothing like a cookie and some beer before the game, And then here you have them. So they come out of the oven. You want to let them cool down, obviously, on a little bit of a wire rack. And then you just get some royal icing. You can buy it or make it, and then just start decorating so they actually look like what they should. I'll do this upside down. Just come around here.
Laces out.
Laces
This is
up.
something that kids would be into doing, too.
They really would.
Oh, wow, look at that artistry.
Have a little fun with it, and a little football right there. Here we go.
Oh, gorgeous.
Wow,
we have more time, yeah. And here you go, guys.
Oh, pass them on down.
So nice.
There you go.
Oh,
I want a football.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the cookie and the cookie.
I love
great having that
cookies.
taste of the cookie butter come through. It's like a slight hint of spice. And the cookie itself is so nice and chewy.
I've just got frozen tots, and I'm sprinkling on some chili powder and some cumin. Sprinkle that over. And then I'll give these a toss. Frozen tots are pretty darn good as they are, but adding the chili powder and cumin really kind of elevates them. Okay, they are all coated. So I'm gonna bake these in the oven. They're gonna go onto a rimmed sheet pan. Now I'm gonna bake these in a 450-degree oven for about 35 minutes. So I'm gonna move forward with the buffalo chicken mixture. I just added some chicken breasts that I cut into chunks, and I'm adding plenty of salt and pepper. I just had a little butter in the skillet, and I'm gonna start browning this before I move forward with the sauce. This kind of recipe is so much fun because you can serve it to teenagers after school. If they have friends over after a football game, it's perfect for that. Okay, the chicken is starting to brown, so I have some more things to add to the skillet. I've got some finely minced garlic and some sliced celery, which kind of ties into the buffalo chicken theme, and some sliced scallions. Okay. When Alex and Paige left for college, I swore things would never feel normal again. But we've kind of gotten a little rhythm. When the girls come home to visit, it's absolutely wonderful. And then when they go back, we settle right back into the man cave routine. So now for the buffalo angle, I've got Louisiana hot sauce, and I'm gonna pour in a whole bottle. This is a great, quick way to make buffalo chicken. Of course, the classic is buffalo chicken wings. That takes a little more time. You have to fry the wings and then simmer them in the sauce. Okay, I think that chicken is just about done. And I think the tots are ready to come out of the oven. They should be golden and crisp. And yes, they are. While I'm here, I'm gonna turn the broiler on. So that'll be ready. So now I'm gonna assemble the tachos, but I wanna get the tots into sort of a group in the middle. You basically wanna make a pile. So first I'm gonna put on just a little bit of cheese. I'm using pepper jack, but you can use plain jack, sharp cheddar, a mix of Colby jack, and then this very saucy, spicy, tasty chicken goes on. I'm gonna grab a bigger spoon. Okay, now you wanna get a bunch of chicken on top, but you also wanna get sauce all over the mix. It'll kind of seep down into those crevices. And then the rest of the cheese goes on. And this is going to be such a scrumptious pile of food right here. Okay, now the pan goes under the broiler just for 2 or 3 minutes until the cheese is melted and bubbly. This is not a dish you want to make ahead of time. You make it right before you serve it. Now I'm going to make a blue cheese ranch dressing to go with the tachos. You won't believe how easy this is. I've just got some prepared ranch, and I'm spiking it with just a little bit of blue cheese. I'll give it a stir and add a little pepper and a little bit of salt. Ranch is basically a way of life with my teenagers. They eat ranch with pizza, chicken nuggets, French fries. I like to spike it with just a little bit of blue cheese to keep it consistent with buffalo chicken. Okay, that's the dressing. Pretty sure that cheese is melted by now. Let me take a look. Oh, yes. It all makes sense now, doesn't it? Oh, what a fun dish. I love it. Now, of course, you can serve little ramekins with the ranch in it, but I kind of like to just go for it and drizzle it on all over. It kind of makes a mess, but that never bothers me. Now, to garnish, I like to sprinkle on some celery leaves. So pretty, and keeps driving home that buffalo chicken point. And then a whole bunch of green onions. Well, if you've never seen buffalo chicken tachos before in your life, that just changed. Here they are.
So I'm putting together a hearty, Midwest-inspired meal to warm us up on this blustery day. For dessert, I'm making my oatmeal cream pies, which are sweet and chewy and dangerously good. One bite and you're a kid again, and it's a snow day. It's the best day ever. I'll start with my cookie dough. I'll combine my dry ingredients. 1 3/4 cup of rolled oats. Honestly, the only thing better than an oatmeal cookie is 2 oatmeal cookies with cream cheese filling in the center. 1 cup of all-purpose flour. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. Oatmeal cream pies are really sweet, so I like them to have a little extra hint of salt. I'm getting flashbacks of these oatmeal cookies with chocolate chips that my mom and sister and I used to make when we were little. We were always an oatmeal chocolate chip family, not oatmeal raisin. Today I'm making a slight variation though and using rainbow chips because it adds that extra crunch and cuteness. Okie doke, dry ingredients are combined. I'll get 1 stick of softened unsalted butter, pop it right into my mixer bowl, and add 1 1/4 cup of light brown sugar. Brown sugar in a cookie makes it extra chewy and molassesy. And I'll cream this up until it's fluffy. I'll crack and add 1 egg. I'll drizzle in 1 tablespoon of molasses, to boost that molasses flavor from the brown sugar and also add a little bit more chew. And 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. And then I'll reduce to low and add in my dry ingredients. That looks great. And once this is just combined, I'll pour in the best part, the rainbow chips. In they go. The hilarious concentration of rainbow chips in here is making me really happy. I've got 2 baking sheets lined with parchment and a 3-tablespoon scoop. I'll scoop out 8 cookies onto each pan. So I think I read somewhere that Grand Forks is the number 2 coldest town in America. We have days where it's 40 degrees below zero. They literally tell you on the news, don't go outside. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'm gonna bake cookies and watch ice skating. Those are my favorite days. Okay, last cookie going on. These are ready for the oven. I'll get them in at 325 for 12 minutes. And in that time, I'll get going on their creamy filling. I can't wait. This is basically a cream cheese frosting with an added bonus of coconut oil. It's a nod to the classic nostalgic shortening that you usually find in oatmeal cream pies, but I love the extra coconutty vibe that it adds. I've got 6 ounces of softened cream cheese in my bowl. The tanginess is what keeps me going back for more bites. Half a stick of softened, unsalted butter, and a 1/4 cup of unrefined coconut oil at room temperature. I'll beat these together. Okay, that's combined. I'll mix in now 1½ cups of powdered sugar. When I was a kid, it was the joke to mix the powdered sugar in on high and say, it's snowing, because the powdered sugar would get everywhere in the kitchen. I don't want to do that today. I don't feel like cleaning. I'll scrape the sides to make sure all the powder gets incorporated. I'm gonna add some salt and vanilla. And I'll get this good and smooth and fluffy. As fluffy as a blanket of snow. I'm ready to assemble. I'll plop some filling onto the center of a cookie. And this is the extra satisfying part. I'll sandwich it with another cookie, squashing it down so that the filling reaches the edges. Now this filling is really soft, so these need to set up in the refrigerator, but I like them there because a cold cookie is a really good cookie. Okay, I'll keep on assembling. Well, I won't say snow to these. Oh, they're so chewy and those rainbow chips are crunchy. This is a sweet sandwich of comfort if I ever had one.
I am going to start on these Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. Now, at Tex Wasabi's, we do an egg roll of the week. And this is one of the first ones we came out. I think this actually started egg roll of the week. And this is where we take all these ingredients that we love. Maybe it's a tequila chicken one week. But the week that I came up with it, it was this. It was Philly cheesesteak. So not exactly how we do a Philly cheesesteak, because I'm putting some, red bell peppers in it and so forth. The greens fly into it. And I have got some roast beef, some really nice thin sliced medium rare roast beef that'll go in. Hit a little bit of salt, touch of pepper, and we're just gonna kind of sweat these, Petey. We're not gonna necessarily get after them in a full caramelized state. Look at this roast beef that I've got here. Now, leftover, if you've got some prime rib, that's a dynamite. The ribeye is, I think, one of the best pieces of meat that you can use in doing a Philly cheesesteak. So we'll pop this right in on top of that.
You want the wide shred here, right, bro?
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're just gonna, what we're gonna do is the heat that we have going on here with the peppers and onions and the meat, we're gonna kind of mix that around, take that away, put it actually into this strainer setup that I have right here, or we could put it into a kitchen towel and kind of squeeze it. But we don't want all that extra moisture. We roll that up in that egg roll skin and seal it up with a little bit of egg and fry it. And actually, I'm gonna use your oil. What ends up happening is moisture isn't your friend. It kind of starts to come out, kind of breaks. Sometimes we'll actually have an explosion, and you don't want an explosion in your oil, right?
Okay. No way.
I'm just knocking out the finale of my Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. I let it soak here a little bit to get some of the moisture out because we don't want the egg rolls to explode. But I got some pepper jack cheese and some roast beef, red and green bell peppers, a little salt and pepper. Now what I did is I dredged my wonton skin in a little egg wash with some milk there. Roll this over from the front, kind of pull it a little tight. Don't want this thing to pop on me. Over that side, and then just give it a little roly roll. The egg wash kind of seals it shut. Bam, we go like that. Oh boy, I took Emerald's line. I don't want to drop too many of them, and I drop them individually so they don't stick together, and I'll have to just kind of move them a little bit. Now, here's a good little technique. If you want to make these egg rolls ahead of time, they will stick. As soon as the dough gets wet or the wrapper gets wet, they'll stick to each other. Little rice flour wrapped around each one, will, or, you know, dusted on it will work great, or a little bit of parchment paper around each one individually. Okay, so Philly cheesesteak egg rolls right here, like we do at Tex Wasabi's. Take a look at those bad boys right there.
My fries. But it's not just any fry. It's my none your business chili on top of my fries, and I'm just gonna load it up just like I do at the stadium. So let me show you how I get it started right here. In my pot, I've got some olive oil and some onions, just getting sauteed and rendering down nice and tender and translucent. And to that, I'm gonna add in some garlic. Now, this is my easy none your business chili. Very simple to make. Usually chili is all kinds of layers of flavor and, you know, maybe 30 to 45 minutes of percolating on the stove top. This is gonna be done in a minute. All right, so into that olive oil, I just said the oil, but I added a little bit of the garlic. You can smell it right now, nice and fragrant. To that, a little bit of cumin. I love cumin in my chili. Just makes it taste like meat, if you ask me. And that's another trick. You add ingredients that are gonna bring the flavor. Now, I've got my pot here on kind of like a medium to medium high. Move everything around. And adding the oil and the spices right now really blooms the spices. So I'm gonna add in some chili powder. And blooming just really means bringing it back to life, you know? A lot of times when you buy spices at the grocery store, it's already been ground up for like maybe 6 months to a year. So as it sits there and those natural oils are just kind of dormant in that bottle, you gotta bring it back to life and it just starts to really smell and taste like it should. And to that, I'm gonna add in my ground beef and then just go in there and break it up. Oh, it just started to snow. Perfect football weather. Okay, so as we're going into the pot here with a pound of beef, I like to add a teaspoon of salt, and that's a really good ratio for every pound of ground meat. A teaspoon of salt will get it to the perfect flavor level for you. You don't have to worry about like tasting and wondering. So right over the top, some salt. And then anytime you think salt, you gotta think pepper. Get that in there. I always end up loosening the top, right? When you loosen the top, there's a plate in the bottom. It takes the plate further apart from each other, the grinder, and it'll give you a bigger, coarser grind of pepper. So the looser, the bigger boulders you get, and the tighter, the finer pepper you get. Get that in there. I like a lot of pepper. And then just start moving it around and breaking it up. This is a really good all-purpose game day chili. All right, so see, that beef is nice and browned. Now it's time for the nunya part, okay? Usually, so much work to get the flavor into a chili. Phone it in with some jarred marinara sauce, right? It's got everything in it you want. The oregano, probably some basil in there, the garlic, the onions. Yeah, we just put some onions in there. It's just so we felt like we did something. But this is really bringing the flavor right here. Pour that right in. Get as much of that out as I can. Oh, yeah. There you go. Stir this up. All right, so look at that. All came together so quick. Minimal ingredients. They all packed a flavor punch. And I gotta take a look at these fries. I'm gonna let this percolate for a second, but I got the fries in here. Yes, yes. Okay, let me crinkle fries, obviously. I think crinkle fries when you're doing any kind of sauce like cheese or chili over the top, really, really smart because they're kind of like the fusilli of fries. They catch all the sauce in the ridges. And they have a little bit more of like structure, right? They're like the rebar of fries as well. Over the top of my fries, now this is not at the stadium, but I like some scallions. So hey, why not chop these up really quick and get these into the game plan. I just enjoy the whole fanfare of going to the game, eating outside in the open air, and then enjoying a drink or two while you watch your team. All right, scallions good to go. It's time to get this baby put together. All right, so I've already got some other chili right here. Bring this big baby over. Then cannot forget the cheese sauce. Close this up. And now it's just to put it together. Oh, come on. Look at this. Katie, I know you love chili. Check this out, girlfriend. None your business chili.
Ooh, that sounds so good. Extra cheese, please.
You know it, girlfriend. And it's another none your business hit because I did not make the cheese sauce. Just heating it up. A little bit of cheese sauce. Come on. Buy it, heat it up. None of your business. The cascade, as Jeff would say. That looks delicious. All right, remember scallions over the top, a little bit of a crunch. And then, just like at the stadium, some sliced pickled jalapenos. Get them at the nacho station. I'm telling you, I will take that tray of fries all around that section just to get every topping that I want on it. There you have it.
I got a big pizza oven in the backyard, wood-fired. Yeah, you got to start it up about 3 hours before you want pizza. But there's been many a time where the kids will say, we want pizza. I'm digging around, it's whole wheat flour this and making sauce out of nothing. This is just a nice, quick, easy sauce to work with. We're gonna get some onions, some garlic, some chili flake. We'll put it all in there, okay? Chop on the onion, a little veg oil down. Okay, so that's looking good. Let me preheat this bad boy. Now here's the key to this. You know, pepperoni has a tendency to kind of sweat a little bit. You know, it's made up of the fat and the meat and it's cased. Well, what happens is when we cook it down, that's what we love about a pizza, is that it cooks the fat out and kind of sits up on top of the pizza, and that's what makes it taste so good. But sometimes it'd be a little too oily. So what I'm gonna do to kind of beat it to its punch is I'm gonna take some of this pepperoni, give a little slice just to start some off, and I'm gonna sweat this pepperoni to help it out and give a little olive oil to do that. And what I'll do is let this get nice and crispy, almost like bacon. So it's gonna have that crispy pepperoni thing we love inside of the dip. Into this, a little bit of garlic. And this is gonna be for my cheese mixture that's gonna go on the bottom of this entire dip. There's a little dice on the garlic, a little cream cheese, 1 egg, some salt and pepper, a little bit of that chili flake, some oregano. Mix that into that cream cheese before I get all of those cheeses in there and make it real tough on myself. Little ricotta cheese and about 2/3 of the cup of that. And then Parmesan, you can't beat the saltiness of that. Now, here's the cheese mixture I have on the bottom of this. Cream cheese, ricotta cheese, and a little bit of the Parmesan cheese. Now this fast tomato sauce or pizza sauce, it's really thickened up. I let it reduce the San Marzanos, the peppers and the garlic. Next, some cremini mushrooms, some onions, and some red bell pepper. Look how nice those mushrooms are in there. Perfect pizza toppings. Now look at this, the pepperoni. I subliminally was forgetting it because I just wanted to keep there as a snacking tray. Those pieces, no, you don't want to put those in here. You want to leave those there. So the pepperoni goes on. Now the fresh mozzarella. Look at this. And here's the cool thing. This dip is ready to go. Just because it's a little bit to the right to the rim, I don't want it to be bubbling over. Lori gets really mad. Okay, we'll throw this down. 350, 15, 20 minutes. We'll let it go. Got some pizza dough, just kind of rolled it out, hit it with a little salt, little oil, cooked it off, and then right into this. Look at that. There's the cremini, the bell peppers, the mushrooms, the onions, the garlic. There's the little ricotta. You can, it's like, again, pizza on a stick. Perfect game day food.
Take off the wingtip and then cut the rest of it in half. So the wingtip is really not used. I reserve it for chicken stock. And then these 2 pieces, I'm gonna make buffalo chicken wings out of. So onto my sheet pan. Usually buffalo chicken wings are fried, but I hate dealing with a big pot of boiling oil, never mind how dangerous it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna brush these with really spicy butter and then broil them, and I think they're just delicious. So for the spicy butter, I've got 4 tablespoons of butter melted. I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of hot sauce. It's really hot. 1 teaspoon of salt. And 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Even hotter. But remember, we're just brushing it on. I'm just gonna mix it together. And brush on the chicken wings. So I'm serving really spicy chicken wings with a really cool blue cheese dressing as a dip. And it's always traditionally served with celery, which is sort of cool and crunchy. It's such a great combination. So I'm gonna broil these for 8 minutes, then I'm gonna turn them, brush them with more spicy butter, and broil them for another 4, and they'll be delicious. Great. And while that's happening, I'm gonna make the blue cheese dip. So I need 3/4 of a cup of gorgonzola, crumbled, right into the food processor. Okay. 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. 1/2 cup of sour cream. Just a splash of milk to thin it a little bit. Some Worcestershire sauce. Some salt and pepper. And just puree it up. This is a great dip, not just for buffalo chicken wings, but also for fresh vegetables. Oh, it's wonderful. Great blue cheese flavor, and the Worcestershire sauce does a lot for it. And I think the buffalo chicken wings are ready. Ah, how good do those look? So I'm just gonna turn these and brush them again with a spicy butter. And 4 more minutes in the oven, they'll be done.
I am making pepperoni pizza queso. You heard me. It truly is the best of both worlds. I'm using flavors from both dishes in a big way. This is truly the perfect dish for game day, and my family happens to be hopelessly devoted to it. Now I'm gonna start by sauteing onions with 3 colors of bell pepper, green, red, and yellow. You can use whatever color you want. And then I'm gonna stir this around. Now these need to cook for about 5 minutes until they start to soften. So while that happens, I'm gonna prep the cheeses. I have 5 of them. First, I'll cube the processed cheese, 8 ounces, and then grate 4 ounces of cheddar, 4 ounces of mozzarella, the same amount of fontina, and it's just a matter of taking the lid off for 2 ounces of Parmesan. You know what I say, why have 1 cheese when you can have 5? That's pretty much my approach in life. Okay, the onions and peppers are nice and soft, so I've got a couple of more non-cheese things to add. I've got a can of diced tomatoes and green chilies. I didn't drain it, it's juice and all. And a small can of diced green chilies, just to really drive home that queso flavor. Now I need to stir this around until it totally heats up before I add the cheeses. I would say game day food is probably the #1 category of food in my house. It's a favorite of Bryce and Todd's for obvious reasons. They are high school athletes. We're getting close to football season, and boy, are we excited. Okay, this is all hot. So I'm gonna add the first cheese, the most important cheese in my opinion when it comes to queso. It's this good old processed cheese. And you've just gotta have it to get that really creamy queso consistency. It's really unbelievable to me that Bryce is already in high school football. He's a junior. That means he only has 2 more years left of high school football. And by the time Bryce goes to college, Todd's just gonna have 2 years left. So the time is ticking away. Okay, the first cheese is just about melted. So now I can add the rest. The sharp cheddar and mozzarella and fontina. And then finally some grated Parmesan. And then I just need to stir until all the cheeses are melted. When you start out with melting the processed cheese, it just kind of sucks that other cheese in and melts it almost instantly. Oh, wow, this is looking fantastic. Now I can tell it needs just a little bit of thinning out. So I've got some room temperature milk on hand, and I'll just add about 1/4 cup or so, and I'll stir it until everything's melted and everything is hot and bubbly. Okay, almost there. It's looking great. So this would be a good time for me to add a couple more things. Some diced fresh tomato and some diced pepperoni. Here's where the pepperoni pizza comes in. Now for a little spice, I'm also adding some diced jalapeno. I scraped out the seeds and membrane so it wouldn't be overpowering in terms of spice. Wow, this is my kind of queso. I don't like queso that's kind of too plain, too much of the cheese. I like it to be really chunky, and look at this. Look at that texture. Ooh boy. I've also got some fresh oregano, and I'm just gonna take the easy road and tear off little pieces. Okay, stirred in the oregano, and I think that's just the perfect amount. So now it's about serving this up. You wanna make sure it is piping hot when you pour it into the bowl, because you want it to stay hot and not set up immediately. I got that pretty full. I want to garnish the top and make it pretty, so I'll add a few more diced tomatoes. And then some more of the diced pepperoni, just so you know what this is. And to make things extra pretty and extra tasty, I'll tear some basil leaves over the top. Emphasis on over the top. Now, you can serve anything with the queso. You can do chunks of French bread. I'm just gonna throw all caution to the wind and serve it with nacho chips. No plain tortilla chips will do for this dip. It is a flavor explosion. All right, guys, pepperoni pizza queso.
This right here is some Italian turkey sausage and some ground beef. Just hit it with a little bit of onion, and this is gonna be going for these great Guy-Talian nachos. Let the meat kind of cook down, get nice and brown, a little crisp to it. Just gonna hit a pinch of some garlic. I'm not worried about the garlic burning right now because there's so much moisture in the pan. I'm gonna let this turn the heat down a bit. These are gonna be topped on top of some great Italian nachos. And speaking of great Italian nachos, I need to work on the salsa for that. Capers and peppadews. You know, I love the peppadew. And this kind of sweet, a little bit of heat, but it's gonna be a great basis for this. So some tomatoes, some onions, all gonna go together to make this great Italian salsa. Go ahead and dice these up. Peppadews in the bowl. And to really give this Italian salsa its own little kick, just a touch of that great peppadew liquor that's in there. Next up, tomatoes. It's a lot of tomatoes, but it is a salsa. Chop those capers up so they're not little briny buds that scare somebody when they get a bite. Next, red onion. And now some parsley. Parsley's done. Okay. A lot of chopping here on Big Bite, I know, but it always makes it worth it. And this going on top of the nachos is gonna be dynamite. Okay, a little more garlic, some salt, fresh cracked pepper, And let's give this a little mix. And a little olive oil on top of that. Not too much, but wow, look at that. Now I'm gonna get into doing some of the, well, it looks like some chips for the nachos here. These are wonton skins. So drop them into the oil, separating them a little bit. Don't wanna put 2 or 3 at the same time. Let's get a few of those in. It's the layers that really make this work. You know, it's not just put down a bunch of chips and clump everything on top. Take the time, stack the chips nicely, get the meat on there evenly, and these are really gonna come out great. So when people grab them, they get one that really has kind of everything to it. All right, these bad boys into the broiler. Now, keep an eye on them because those skins have already been fried. It can go really fast. Oh, looks dynamite. Sprinkle that on the top. Then, like you do in an Italian style, gotta have some salami. Say, julienned up some salami, some green onions, some nice color in there. Of course, some basil, a little Italian parsley.
This is my spicy 5-ingredient spinach artichoke dip. Let's get started. So I've already got my 5 ingredients out and my oven is preheated to 375 degrees. Now, 5 ingredients: spinach, artichokes, whipped cream cheese with chives, sour cream, and shredded pepper jack cheese, okay? That's all we need to make this dish. I've got my pan. I'm gonna turn it on and get it ready to go because we're gonna saute some of this baby spinach. We've got a nice jar here of my artichoke hearts. I've got them marinated in oil because it's, you know, when you're doing 5 ingredients, you really need each ingredient to come with more than just one flavor profile if you can. It needs to come in and pack a punch. So if you can see right here, all that flavor that's going on in here, I'm just gonna drain it out. And I'm gonna maximize my ingredients. That flavorful marinade that's in there, I'm gonna use some of that to cook my spinach. So about 3 tablespoons. I know I'm holding on to my measure, but about 3 tablespoons. And then I've got a big old, what we like to call in the business, the clam shell of love. It's baby spinach. You get more than you think that you're gonna need. Same thing with mushrooms because it cooks down really, really fast. And what I like to do is just kind of get it in batches because then you can kind of work it around and make sure everything hits that heat and starts to wilt for you. And you'll start to see it get really, really, really bright, you know, just kind of like as if you're blanching it. And then all of a sudden it starts to wilt. You got a little bit more room. As soon as you start seeing some space in the pan, you can start adding some more. Now, also smart to hit it with a little bit of salt. That doesn't count in the ingredient count. Salt and pepper and usually like the fat, you know, if it's like olive oil or something. But I decided not to use olive oil. I mean, we've got the oil in there that's marinating the artichoke hearts. When I was growing up, my mom used to always have these soirees at the house, and she wouldn't make like artichoke dip. She would just get like the real raw artichoke, slice it in half, broil it, deliciousness. All right, more in. See, we're so healthy. We're gonna eat all the spinach. All right, so I'm gonna move this around. A little bit more salt helps wilt it down. Plus, we like to season every layer. I used to go crazy in the produce section, making sure everything is like pre-washed. I'm like reading those labels like crazy, so make sure you read the label. All right, so we've got our artichoke hearts while we're waiting on everything to wilt down there. I'm just gonna give them a nice chop. Just come in and be random. I'm gonna mix it all in together with the other ingredients, our cream cheese, a little shredded pepper jack. And I do that because you know, like I said, few ingredients, they gotta come through with a flavor profile. Boom. All right, so I'm gonna get these into my bowl. Coincidentally, if you didn't know, artichokes, super delicious and tasty, but the center of an artichoke is called the heart. It's the meaty center. It has like a rich, deep taste. All right, so now look at our spinach. It's getting to the point where we don't want it to burn or get dark brown and oxidize. And every once in a while, I'll even chop it down a little bit, but this is baby spinach, so right into the bowl with those artichokes. Get that in there. I'm gonna add 8 ounces of whipped chive cream cheese. I used to use, regular cream cheese, but whipped cream cheese is just what it sounds like. They've aerated it, so it's a lot softer, and you don't have to do that whole defrosting thing and leave it on the counter so it becomes pliable. It just comes right out and ready to mix into your recipes. All right, a little bit of sour cream. A 1/4 cup of sour cream is going in. And then our final ingredient, which is 8 ounces of pre-shredded pepper jack cheese. Got a little bit of fire in there from the pimento. Just come in and just mix it all up. Hit it with a little bit of pepper if you feel like it. I'm starting to smell the artichokes. Now remember, the oven is at 375 degrees. This is gonna take around 20 minutes. So 375. Is what I've got the oven at. I've got my little serving dishes here. Now, you can use an 8x8, you can do ramekins. This all just depends on the party you're throwing, you know what I'm saying? You can double this and make a big old 9x11. I'm gonna clean that up. But this gets in. Try and be even. And then I'm just gonna use a spoon to level off everything. It's okay if some of that hangs over the edge because, when it comes to the table at the restaurant, it's like bubbling and a couple of pieces of cheese are like burnt. That's the good stuff, you know what I'm saying? All right, remember the pepper jack cheese? It's getting double usage here. A little over the top. It's about 4 ounces. And I always say to myself, an ounce is like a slice. So it's like 4 slices of cheese, no big deal, NBD. Okay, 375 in the oven till it starts to get nice and bubbly around the edge. If you feel like it's not golden brown on the top, you can also throw the broiler on for a few minutes to get that curb appeal that you want. Getting it in the oven. Meet me back here when your dip is ready. Ooh, it's piping hot. When they bring it to the table, they're like, don't touch it. It's really, really hot. It's like, we know that. I want to burn the roof of my mouth with this stuff. All right, I love serving this with tortilla chips, just like at the restaurant. If you want, you can put your tortilla chips in the oven on warm. That's anywhere from 150 to 200 for like 5 to 10 minutes. Just when you start seeing them glisten and the oils are coming to life on the inside. Let me dig up in here. What? Ooh, I like it when the chip breaks. It lets you know it is talking business in there. Look at that. Piping hot goodness. I'm gonna burn my roof in my mouth. I don't care.
Now, I've just been grilling 5 ears of corn. Now, I'll let that sit and cool for a minute. And I have a skillet that I've been warming, and I'll add half a stick of butter. This is a luscious dip. So many flavors going on, and I love that you don't have to make it at the last minute. You can do it way earlier in the day. Okay, the butter's all melted. Now I'm gonna crank up the heat, and I'll throw in some chopped onion. I've got some veggies, and I wanna cook them over really high heat to get as much color on the outside as possible. And then 2 colors of bell pepper, green and red. And then I diced up a couple of fresh jalapeños. I split them open and took out the seeds and membranes because that's where all the really, really harsh spice is. And then just a couple of cloves of garlic that I minced really finely. Now I'll just stir this around. I'm gonna cook these for a few minutes just until they start getting a nice deep golden brown color. Meg has been Alex's best friend since they were really, really little. And this is very handy because Meg's mom, Hyacinth, and I have been best friends for a long time. All right, these veggies need a couple more minutes, so I'll just let those sit, and I'll slice the kernels of corn off the cobs. Okay, corn's all ready. Let me check on the veggies. They're starting to get nice dark brown bits. Perfect. So I will turn off the heat and let them cool just a little bit in the pan. And while they cool, I'll mix up the base for the dip. It starts with mayonnaise. I'll add about a half a cup. and then the same amount of sour cream. Now, I have an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. I made sure it was really soft so it would all mix together really easily. Now, I'll throw the corn in, because this is hot corn chili dip. I'll just kind of break them up when I add it. Oh, I love grilled corn. Okay, and then the peppers are cool enough to add. So I'll just throw those in. This is a really versatile dip too. You can use whatever kinds of peppers, onions, veggies you want. Okay, one more big spoonful. And then I'll stir this around. There are jalapeños in this, but since they cooked, they're nice and mild, so you just get the flavor. Now I'll let that sit for a minute, and I'll grate up some cheese. I've got pepper jack cheese, but you can use just Monterey Jack or Cheddar Jack or just cheddar. I like using Monterey Jack whenever I'm putting something in the oven because it melts really nicely. That should be good on the cheese. So I'll add most of this in. And now, because this is corn chili dip, I'm adding 2 cans of diced green chilies, juice and all. Of course, you can roast your own chilies if you have them and if you have the time, but these canned ones are just delicious. I love them. I just have a couple more things to add. I've got some green onions, and I'll just slice them up. They add big flavor to this dip. Just sprinkle those in, and then a little bit of salt and pepper. If you wanted to kick this up a little bit, you could add some hot sauce, salsa, anything like that. Okay, the dip looks fantastic.
So it's 2 pounds of ground beef. I use really premium beef. I like grass-fed beef. 3 tablespoons of olive oil. That keeps it nice and moist. This is really easy to make. And some good spicy mustard, Dijon mustard, about a tablespoon. Tablespoon of garlic, finely minced, right into the mixture. Some fresh thyme, about a teaspoon of fresh thyme leaves. Just peel them right off the stems. Beef is such a strongly flavored thing. You want to flavor it, but you don't want it to go pow. You want layered flavors, a little bit of mustard, a little thyme. Just give it a chop. Really releases the oils in it and distributes it through the meat. Okay, teaspoon of fresh thyme, 2 teaspoons of salt, teaspoon of pepper. Give it a big stir with a fork. Fork's really important. You don't want to compact the meat, you want to keep it really nice and light. There are 2 big mistakes of hamburgers. One is compacting it when you're actually forming the burger, and the second one is pressing it when it's on the grill. Gets rid of all the nice juices into the grill. You want to keep these moist and light and delicious. Okay, time to make the burgers. So this mixture's going to make, I would normally make 6 burgers, but I'm going to make 12 sliders. And so they're approximately 2 inches wide by 1 inch thick. Roll it around, don't press it while you're rolling around, and then just shape it into a hamburger. Okay, these are perfectly grilled. I'm gonna take them off. You can make them any way you like, just plain with Gruyere. I have arugula, onions, tomatoes. That's the thing about burgers. You can build them any way you want. And the buns are perfectly grilled. It's actually brioche.
I've got 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips in a double boiler, and I'll just add about a ½ a cup of creamy peanut butter. Now it's gonna take a few minutes for that to start to melt, so I'll move over to the cookie part. I'm just using regular vanilla wafers. I've got them in a big plastic bag, and I'm just using a rolling pin to break them up. These cookies will serve as the structure of the peanut butter bars, and I love that they just come straight out of the pantry. So that's looking good right there. Now I'll move on to the mixer, and I've got 2 sticks of salted butter. Now, butter is not a pantry item. The butter is sort of indispensable when it comes to making these bars delicious, so I'll forgive myself just this once. Now, into this mixture, I'm gonna add a cup of crunchy peanut butter. All right, that looks like about a cup. Now, I'll start mixing this together. Butter and peanut butter. What is the world coming to? Now, while that mixes together, I'll check on the topping. Things are looking good over here. Oh, the peanut butter's all melted and the chocolate is too. So I'll just stir it around until it's totally mixed together. All right, that is looking great. Now I'll take that off to cool a bit. Now back to the mixer. I'm gonna add a little sweetness to this. 2 cups of powdered sugar, and I've learned the hard way to add 1 cup at a time. Now I'll turn it on and let it mix. And then I'll add the 2nd cup. If powdered sugar flies everywhere, it doesn't matter. Nobody's watching. Now, while this is mixing together, I'll just pour in 2 cups of mini chocolate chips, and I'll give those a chance to mix in. And now in go the vanilla wafer crumbs. I add the crumbs at the very last. I don't want them to crush up and get too fine in the mixing process. Okay, that is all mixed together. I do not want to over-mix it and crush up all those crumbs. Now I have a 9 by 13 inch pan. I smeared it with butter, and I'll just get the paddle, get all that extra off. And then this just goes right into the buttered pan. Now I'm just using the spatula to press it into a single layer. Try to get the top as flat as I can. Doesn't have to be perfect, of course. Okay, I've got that into a single layer. It looks amazing. It's about to look more amazing. I've got this beautiful chocolatey, peanut buttery topping, and I'll just pour it all over the top of these bars. I'm speechless, literally. I have nothing to say. It just looks so good. I would like to swim in this bowl of chocolate topping. Scrape the extra in. Goodness gracious. Now I'll just use a spoon to spread it into a single layer, get all the way out to the edges. I want every single bar to be covered with this chocolate. I get to lick the bowl. Now I want to sprinkle some peanuts on top, so I'll give them a quick chop. I don't need too many. I'm gonna chop them really fine. And this is where you could also have some fun. You could just do vanilla wafer crumbs on top if you don't want to do nuts, saltines, even crushed up pretzels. Wow, that should be good. I'll just grab them and sprinkle them over. These are so darn easy. I make them a lot, and I never can get over how simple they are to make. Now you can do just a light sprinkling of nuts, or you can do a really thick layer. I'm somewhere in between. Absolutely perfect. Now I've got to get these into the fridge to set. I'm gonna put them in there for at least an hour, and then they'll be all ready to cut. I cannot believe this pan was made from only pantry ingredients. Well, and a little bit of butter.
Okay, so desayuno is breakfast. You know, I love some breakfast. GZ, if you could help me, you're just gonna slice up the scallions, white and green parts. I like both. And then finally chop the cilantro right there, and in separate bowls for me. This starts with a potato base. We're using a muffin tin. You know, you can go to the grocery store and you buy that steamable bag of potatoes, you know? Get it into the microwave.
Oh, you can, yeah, you microwave them right in the tater bag.
Right in the bag. And I've got a bag already microwaved here. You see I've already begun. And these are gonna be your small potatoes, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna go for big ones. Those are ones that are usually in the microwavable bag anyway. Just get it right in here. This is nonstick, all right?
Okay.
So, Sonny, you could just like boil some little potatoes, right?
You could, but they'll be like waterlogged. And I really think a steam situation is even better. So, you know, even if you want to kind of like roast this in the oven first and then smash it down, it'd be better. But yeah, if hey, push comes to shove, it's tailgate. No one's gonna be like, these bites are waterlogged.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's gonna notice.
The hydration of your potatoes is
Just
a
give
little
them another
unacceptable.
beer and they'll think they're
Exactly.
delicious.
Yeah, listen, shut up, Donnie. Here's a wing.
So now if you'll see, I'm using a shot glass to just push this down.
Oh.
And then
you
pack
see
the
they're like
shot glass to take to the
and
tailgate.
then, exactly. Fill up the shot glass, throw it down.
You see these potatoes are the perfect size for this. I saw something like this on social media and thought, oh, we can make this into breakfast. So let's do it. All right, so I've already got these loaded up. Now then I'm gonna start filling them up, but first I wanna talk to you about the protein, the meat part. Since this is desayuno, why not use some Mexican chorizo? All right. Mexican chorizo, it's flavorful, it's got lots of garlic, and if you ask me, it's the best fat ever, that orange fat.
It is. There's not enough orange fat on the planet.
There really
It's
is.
kind of
Lacking
Leonardo.
blue foods and orange fat.
That's it, man.
Paprika coming
My
in
next
there.
cookbook, actually. It's 2 pages long.
So look, I've just gotten that onto some paper towel. Just kind of let it hang out for 2 seconds, not too long. And then, just so it's easy scoopage
Look at that.
off of that. Look at that.
Can I have the paper towel?
This right here is the good stuff right here.
You want to start a fire?
Yeah,
You want to start
light that up.
You want to light your smoker up? That's what you use right there.
Exactly. First thing you want to do is some cheese. Why, Jeff?
Because it's going to help you from sogging up that potato. It's going to create a nice little
Can I ask
cheesy
a question?
barrier.
Yes, you can always ask a
Could you
question.
put like an egg in that?
You could totally
Bake
put
it,
an egg in
and
here.
then do this on top?
Yeah, the egg might take up a lot of space, so you'd have less room
Square
for other
footage. Yeah, I get it.
toppings. Yeah.
You know
but
what you could do?
definitely
You
an
could
egg.
take the eggs, whisk them, and just put a little bit of egg in each one.
Scramble.
Oh, like a quiche.
Yeah, you
That's
wouldn't have to
right.
put a whole egg in
You
each
know,
one if it took up too much
That is
space.
an excellent.
Matter of fact, you
excellent
could
idea.
whisk the eggs with some salsa, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm putting
Now
some
you're
salsa
talking.
in over the cheese, and then just go in with our chorizo and spoon in.
So there's no egg in this whatsoever?
No egg. The cheese does all of the holding together and binding that you're gonna need.
And Sonny, I'm just thinking ahead here. This muffin tin's gonna be great for transporting it to the game.
Excellent for
Just
transporting.
wrap it all up.
I would argue you're gonna need more than just, what's this, 3x4, 12. But yeah, you can stack them. More cheese.
Oh, Sonny. Are you sure this is desayuno?
Yeah, this is definitely desayuno. This is definitely breakfast, okay?
Oh, that's my kind of breakfast. Cheese and chorizo.
Have you ever had a Papa's taco, like a potato taco?
Yes.
It's just potato and
Yeah.
chorizo. I mean, this is it without the tortilla.
Especially when they deep fry the whole tortilla. You ever have that? Oh.
Just get that in there. I'm
Is that
kind of
a little
pushing
spicy?
it down a
Is that
bit
spicy
too.
salsa that you used?
It's not super
It's
spicy,
medium.
but you can do mild or spicy. And just know this is the Mexican blend of cheese that you can get at the grocery store.
You know, you could really mix that up with different flavor profiles too. Like if you wanted to do breakfast sausage or Italian sausage and just put your own combination on it.
Oh, I could totally. What are you doing? 'Cause
It's happening.
Say
it just hit
it,
me and
Jeff.
it needs
Say
to come
it.
out.
Say it.
Pancake batter in there.
Yeah?
Boom. Or like a
Oh.
waffle batter with like crispy maple bacon. Bake it all. You don't even need the potato.
Can cheese come
Yeah,
hang
you put
out?
a little cheese
Because
in
you know
there.
sometimes you go to the fast food places and they'll have like the cheese, the sausage, the pancake,
Okay.
all in one.
Well, you know what I'm thinking is you do the pancake batter and then you have a squeeze bottle of maple with the butter in there and you kind of inject it so when it bakes up,
good
the center is
idea.
all gooey.
So what do you guys like to do for a game day breakfast?
Usually it's like coffee and hair of the dog, like a little swizzle of like whiskey in there. And sometimes that's why I like making this. It's like, what can you pick up on the way? You'll just like fast food join it. But if you're meeting people, this is way better. To show
I like
them,
the
actual
bringing out the
food.
flat top and doing just bacon, eggs, just everything on the flat top.
Oh, the smell of that bacon
right?
wafting
Gets
through the
people.
parking lot. What about
And
you,
tortillas.
Geoffrey?
I eat the same breakfast every single day. Eggs, avocado, some honey, some fresh fruit.
Okay, well, you could put some
good.
eggs in here
Yeah.
and avocado later and put the
Lot of
honey
eggs.
in your
I'm
coffee.
an egg freak.
All right, so
I love
400
eggs.
degrees for about 15 minutes.
GB Diesel.
Yep. I'm gonna put this in here.
Oh, it's hot.
All right, remember, just 400 degrees. I said just, but really, that's a pretty high
That's
temp.
pretty
It's
high.
really just 15 minutes.
I mean, you could do this on your grill and smoker, right? Correct?
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever
You
you,
could.
got going.
You could
at
take it like that,
tailgate.
you warm it up, you throw it in the grill, and you get to the
Yeah,
parking
that's right.
Oh, definitely. Or just cook it right before you leave the house. You get there, it's still warm.
Look at them Crispies.
Here they are.
Pop it out.
Dare I
Right?
say, this drink is perfect for this.
It's a great pairing.
You know what I think you could do with this? Like, if you're just making this at home, put it in a freezer bag in your freezer, and you
like a
want
pop
like
meal.
a good, quick breakfast on a weekday, you can eat one of these.
I think that's great.
I would
Some scrambled
agree.
egg on top for breakfast.
Obviously, you want to let these sit for a minute and
Sonny
they'll
just
set up.
went in.
Yeah, I mean, you let them set up a little bit longer. It's easier to get them out, and they're not going to fall apart on
We
you.
don't have that
scoop
time,
of sour
Sonny.
cream
Okay?
on
Enough with
these?
the ideas of setting it up.
Sonny, what would you think of a little spoonful of sour cream on
Well,
it?
it's right there. It's going to happen.
Ask in you shall receive.
It's gonna happen.
What about what do you think about little fresh
sour cream
cilantro
song?
on there too? Oh, look,
Say
it's right
again.
there.
Look at there.
Isn't there a
it is.
spoonful of
wish these
cilantro
were-
helps the medicine go down song?
And a little dash of hot sauce.
I will say,
Oh,
let
look,
these
it's
get
right
a
there.
little bit more room temp before you bring
These
them
are
out to
so
play.
Cute, Sonny.
Plate
I'll
me
hook
up.
you
I'm okay.
A little dollop. It's
I'm
gonna
also
burn you,
getting
Jeff.
like stuffed potato skin
Vibe.
vibes here.
Bring me some of those scallions.
Oh yeah, don't forget those
Thank
things.
you. Need some scallions.
You actually have to have spring onions. I like to call them spring onions. It's
Yeah,
well, you're
yeah,
that
why
guy.
not?
more
That's
like
why you are
luxurious.
hot
wow.
sauce?
It's really a
Okay.
scallion.
It's hot, Jeff. It
All right,
hasn't
now,
like
well,
set for a minute.
I'm gonna point this little nifty idea out to kind of reuse those muffin tins. You got a couple laying around. It's a good way to kind of provide condiments and fixings for a crowd. Use your little muffin tins, put them in there to put a little
It's very cute.
jalapeno on there, and
cute.
everybody can kind of build their own. You got your lettuce, your pickles, olives, all your stuff. If you're doing burgers, tacos, hot dogs, easy cleanup, obviously. And there's
Dare
not like
I say-
100 little
for
bowls.
taco night at home.
Dare I say you
Oh,
could
I love
have
that.
each person could have their own cupcake.
Yeah.
It's not that
Look
hard.
Yeah, you could put
Sonny.
all the
So there's no
toppings into
Sonny.
one.
Cross contamination.
Come
you can have
on,
your
man.
Come on up.
Oh.
Come on.
Own. Is that a breakfast pull?
That's a breakfast
It's a
bowl.
breakfast cheese pull.
I don't know. I'm gonna hurt himself.
Oh, Jeff.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh. Oh, that's crispy potato.
Yeah?
Ah. And I think chorizo is the best possible bang for your buck protein in there.
I would agree.
100%.
Now you're gonna wanna pay close attention because this is gonna move fast. $1 million dip coming right up. The creamy base starts with 8 ounces of cream cheese and 3/4 of a cup of mayonnaise. I let the cream cheese soften so it'll be easier to stir it together. So the first thing I wanna do is just smush all this together. Okay, that's the creamy base. Now I'll add the cheeses. 1 sharp cheddar, 1 cup, 2 grated Swiss, 1 cup, and 3 blue cheese crumbles, 1/4 a cup. Oh my gosh, it looks so good already. This is probably why it's called $1 million dip. I'm gonna add 8 pieces of bacon that have been fried crisp and cut really fine into a dice, and then some toasted almonds. And to toast them, I just bought slivered almonds and put them in a dry skillet over medium-low heat and just kind of shook the skillet for about 5 minutes until they were golden and nutty. I could stop right here and eat this for dinner. It is that good. Okay, the nuts and the bacon are mixed in. So I have a big pile of sliced green onions, 3 green onions to be exact. And for seasoning, I'm gonna keep it pretty simple. About 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and just a little bit of cayenne, about 1/8 teaspoon. I'm using garlic powder instead of minced or grated garlic because sometimes when you add raw garlic to a dip and let it sit, it can sort of get overpowering. So the garlic powder keeps it from getting too strong. I mean, stick a fork in me, I'm done. That looks so good. So I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it to the bowl that I'll serve it in. And it really just comes out in one neat little pile. What a dip. I'm gonna cover it with plastic wrap because I wanna put it into the fridge for about 4 hours. And then when I serve it, I'll sprinkle on some extra green onions and I'll serve it with crackers. See what I mean by fast?
I feel really strongly about guacamole. I know you don't hear that a lot. But I just think usually it's this puree of avocados that doesn't have a lot of flavor. And I just think it's got to have lots of flavor and be really chunky. This is how you take the pit out of the avocado. Just like that. These are perfectly ripe. I want them so that they're bright green. And they're ripe enough so that they come out of the shell really easily. If they're too ripe, you'll find they're really brown. These are just perfect. So green around the outside and yellow in the middle. These are gonna be so good when Geoffrey gets home with chips and margaritas while the tequila lime chicken cooks. Gotta have something special when he walks in the door. Okay, one more half. See, when they're ripe, it comes out really easily, and it's beautiful. Okay, now I'm gonna season it. You know, people ask me all the time, what's the best way to keep the guacamole green? And there's really one key ingredient, lemon juice. There are all these theories about having the seed in it. Forget it. It's really about fresh lemon juice, and it's got to be freshly squeezed lemon juice. Okay, we've got that. And then all kinds of delicious things to season it with. Hot sauce. I like when it's really spicy. You can decide how hot you want yours. I like garlic in it, so chopped garlic. Red onions. It's going to be so good. Lots of salt. And freshly ground pepper. And this is the secret to really good guacamole. I don't puree it. All I do is cut into it, just like this. So it's really chunky. It mixes the ingredients together. And it stays really chunky this way. Just run your knife through the avocados. Okay, just mix it up and make sure the flavors are well blended. And the last thing I add is tomato. So I've chopped tomatoes. I've taken the seeds out. I put the tomatoes in last because I don't want it to color the guacamole. Just toss it lightly. I'm sure it needs more salt. I really want to get the right balance of avocado, lemon juice, salt and pepper. Little salt. That's pretty good. I think Geoffrey's going to love it with corn chips, yellow corn chips, blue corn chips, or you can even get red corn chips. How crazy is that? That's going to be really good.
All right, now what I got going over here, well, I've got some jalapeno peppers, some red bell, and some onions cooking down in a little bit of pancetta bacon fat, as well as some butter. Now here's a little trick I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna slide this back a little bit, kind of put my burner back here on this side, let the onions hang out over here on this side. When you wanna make a great burger, get some boneless chuck or some boneless sirloin and have the butcher grind it for you and make it. Well, you throw some boneless chuck into this chili, you're gonna be a winner. Okay. Run that over right into what I'm showing you here, about a 1/4-inch piece, because it does need to cook down a little bit, but take a look at that. Little nuggets of deliciousness, okay? So these bad boys back into the hot side of the pan. And I got some Anaheims and Poblanos that I went and, went through here and roasted and then threw in a bowl covered with plastic, let their own internal temperature sweat their skins off. And this is going all into my Dragon's Breath chili, which you see working right here. Wow, I got some peppers, some boneless chuck, and some onions going down, some jalapenos in there so far. I need to clean this last pepper up and get this skin off of here. Now, saving all that for my compost and get these in. The roasted flavor of these peppers is really gonna add some depth to this chili. And that's kind of one of the things about my chili is it's got a lot of layers. Slowly cooking the peppers, slowly cooking the onions, getting the garlic in there, kind of letting everything go at its own rate, its own stage. And these get mixed in like this. Now, I've got some Italian sausage here. It's gonna go down. So you're gonna get great flavor out of this from the pork, as well as some fat mixed into it. Fat is flavor. And then look at that, little ground chuck and chili grind, so nice and thick. So got different textures of meat, different layers of peppers, different styles of flavors. There's some real complexity to this. Well, a little granulated garlic, of course, has got to work its way in there. About 2 teaspoons to a tablespoon. A little coriander, can't beat that flavor. There's, like I said, we talk about complexity. Same amount there. Little hot paprika. Now, a lot of times I'm talking about paprika and it just being kind of a smoky paprika or neutral. This has actually got a little bit of kick to it. There's gonna be some of the dimension of heat. We got the jalapeno in there. A little granulated onion, even though we have some in, the granulated will actually carry the flavor further. And a little bit of cumin, cumino. You can't beat it, especially with a little southwestern influence in this chili with some of the roasted poblanos and Anaheims. Okay, everybody in the pool so far. Cayenne, this is where you're getting the big heat from. But I'm not gonna make, with having the boys, Hunter and Ryder, I don't wanna make it too spicy. And a little chili powder. Okay. Now, I deglazed this with some beer, hit a little chicken stock, tomato paste, tomato sauce, kidney beans, pinto beans, everybody in the pool, and let it go low and slow. Look at this, okay? Now, let me just get a little taste on this real quick, because I need to add some salt and pepper. Little fresh cracked black, And a little touch of some salt. Stir that in. This is on point. Okay, so let me actually build this up real quick. I'd like to throw some fries down around the sides. There we go. Get this bad boy in here. Right on top of some of the fries. Hit a little bit of the cheese on top. Some green onion. Get in for another taste.